so people can actually ask questions. I can
Whoa.
read those out.
Jay, I'm recruiting you. If you could keep an eye on that for me, because I'm gonna flow and I'm not gonna notice. I can see you typing. Yep. Let's give everyone 10
David,
minutes.
yeah. Yeah.
But this gets recorded through YouTube, so I think we should be good to go.
You can check, since we had the previous call, you can just check your YouTube and see if it uploaded it.
That wasn't a live though. That was a hangout.
Yeah, the last one was live. The last one was an on air.
Was it?
Like I can go to my events page and rewatch the talk that we all did.
Me for anything,
I want to. Okay.
I wouldn't want to. I'm just saying I can.
Good. You might want to watch the end where I was being awesome, but you don't want to watch the rest.
Was that like the 30 seconds before I left, or was that after?
That was the 30 seconds. That was the time after you left. When you left, I was like, oh, he's gone. Finally, I can let loose. Okay. I guess we're gonna have to. So you have to tell me when we're kind of ready. So.
Yeah, we're broadcasting, so at any point.
We are, but I mean, are people in here, the people who want to be in here yet?
We have no viewers yet. Laura is here, Kay is here, Kat is here, Ed is here. The link has been posted in Kick.
I'm
honestly kind of tempted to throw up the viewing link on my Tumblr and see what happens.
Try it.
Go for it. I mean,
go for it.
Can you
on my
can you post? Look, there's the viewing link right there.
I'm not going to be.
That's like the perfect time to post on Tumblr on a Saturday night as well.
I'm not going to be posting it because that would mean actually ruining my current line of really stupid gifs.
That and people would know if you have a Tumblr what Tumblr that is.
It's really obvious. It's boysdressedassailormoon.tumblr.com. Duh.
Because I was following the right Harley.
And women dressed as tuxedo mask, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's not my fault the current tuxedo mask is a woman and she's fucking awesome.
She's pretty awesome.
Wait, there's a new Sailor Moon?
There's Crystal, which is getting a season 2, and there's the new stage musical that starts in a month, and it's half the old cast from the old one. So that includes Girl Tuxedo Mask because he's being played by a girl, and she's awesome. It's just really funny to me that she is, and it's cool. No, also that's my other. Then technically, it's my middle blog, which is things of indeterminate gender dresses naoto.tumblr.com.
Who is okay with me sharing their blog as participating?
I am.
I don't think I'm following you. I might just have to post a link to yours.
Excuse me.
I follow like 10 blogs because my dashboard would get overloaded.
Jay does.
I'm never on it.
I think it's my fault because I keep ranting like people keep putting notes on things. I just want to look at pictures of cats.
Yeah, every single time you've participated on my blog, you end up with. And I mean, a lot of the followers on my blog are like those automatic porn accounts that don't actually have anybody behind them.
That AI? You're being followed by a load of AI. When Skynet comes, it'll be kinky. God, I can't believe I just said that.
Brown chicken, brown cow.
So scripting is the main theme, right?
Yeah, I've decided someone to start from the beginning. I'm just going to do inductions and then cover scripting in that because it's the same damn topic.
See, we are starting at a very good place to start.
I mean, yeah, it's all due to Kat. She's told me, start at the beginning, and I was like, well, that's better than starting at the end. Do the whole thing literally in reverse.
It works for Quentin Tarantino.
I mean, yeah, but I'm not Zatanna. I can only speak backwards for so long.
It worked for Tarantino.
I'm trying to get the video here.
Horrific amounts of cocaine, but you don't see me complaining.
Reggie, staring contest with the cat. This is what my life has become, and she has a goopy eye.
And yet she's still winning.
Hi, guys.
Why? Yours
is your blog is the flower, right? It's named after a flower.
Navy orchid blooms, or navy orchid something.
Okay, I didn't want to. Again, I'm trying to.
You're trying to respect privacy, but you're really not.
Come on, how long did it take me to change my freaking email?
I see. This is why I regret never making that blog for the 4 rats in a trench coat.
You should have. That was one of the best asks ever.
I know. I should have. I just got bored and never got around to making it.
Yeah, navy orchid blooms.
Okay. Well,
For,
I will post links on it at some point. We have 4 whole viewers. Hi, everybody watching.
Yeah.
2 of them are from me.
Who are confused right now, it's because ages ago, as a joke, I made a thing of saying I was going to make a really bad, like, kink blog on Tumblr, purposely horrible, but attribute it to 4 rats who
I was
only
going to
spoke
say,
Italian
terrible
in a
kink
trench
blog?
coat.
I thought that was already mine.
Fun? No, yours isn't that bad. I meant the really bad ones. Like, I was just like the really, really awful ones. I still
Awful
want
as
to
in,
do
like, really
creepy.
hardcore content? Or
No,
Have I
really
sh-
creepy and.
you haven't seen Sam's blog since we split.
I don't want to, honey. I don't want to. I don't want to see anything of that kind.
Yeah.
I've seen some of the blogs that follow mine, and I get terrified.
Right? Oh.
And then I run away regularly every morning.
This is why I try not to follow a lot of blogs.
But you
This is
should
why-
still follow me, because obviously, hello.
You have to follow me because then that
Your
means
blog is adorable. I've looked at it before.
because that means I say I can tag you when Banny inevitably tags me in something. I could just tag you and be done with it.
Thanks.
It's not my fault. It's all her fault. Everything is her fault somewhere down the line.
I've definitely come to learn that. It's kind of nice to not be my fault.
Global warming, all her fault. Second World War, she was involved.
All of it because those leaks never close.
How the hell do you stop cursing?
Huh?
I got it.
Harley and I were joking about that earlier.
We probably shouldn't spread that joke around, you know.
That's-
Basically, long story short, we were talking about my habit of gymnastics and how I can't do the splits.
I heard the shits for a second.
I can't do those either.
Speaking of, we do have a story about that, but that's probably another time.
No, we're not talking about poos, guys.
I'm dead. Aww.
It's fine. Employers won't care if you have tits.
Some of them prefer it.
I mean, depends what industry you work in.
Mhm.
Restaurant workers.
Do you know what the fun?
Radio,
what
less
the-
important.
Do you know what the fun thing is? Kink.com. Their in-office computers have a content filter on them.
Are you serious?
Blocks porn. I was there like a while ago, like with a friend. Not recording. Well, she was recording pornography. I wasn't. I was moral support. I had some pom poms and was going, yay, yay. As you do.
Orgasm.
So we have a few
Fuck the
people
thing.
watching. I've posted this on Tumblr, and we have a few people watching. So let's
Nice.
go ahead and Harley, if you want to kick us off.
If I want to kick you, I would love to.
In a couple weeks, you can.
Okay. So, hey everybody. I'm going to start this with really basic with the little intro I give before I do any of these classes, and that's basically me. Those of you who may know me know I'm Harley Harlequin. I've been doing this now for 8 years, and I've been teaching these classes for about 4 of those, so I would hope I know what I'm doing, and if I don't at this point, I'm never going to learn, so I have a vague idea. I once read a book, it had pictures in it, it was glorious. Unfortunately, the book was in Taiwanese, and had a few typos I refused to fix.
At least
I
you're
need
not
everyone
referencing the
to-
Bernstein Bears again.
I don't even know what they are. That's actually well flowed in, because I have 2 quick points I'm going to give everybody. When I get excited, I talk very fast. My computer is shit. There may be a disconnect here, so if I start going too fast and you can't understand me, please just say and I will slow down. 2, I'm a British-Canadian hybrid. This means I make really stupid jokes you may not get. If I start making those jokes, please someone feel free to stop me. I actually have someone at the physical classes whose job it is to translate jokes from British to Canadian. This usually means changing people to moose and putting "eh" at the end of sentences.
And this is why we're doing this as a group endeavor.
Yes, this is a group, so please start correcting me if I start talking about something obscure like Bodger and Badger.
The fuck?
Don't ask.
Yes.
Well, now I want to know.
Quadrant Badger was a British kids' TV show about a man who had a pet badger which liked potatoes. That is literally the whole summary of the plot. Have fun.
Why would you watch that?
I was 5!
Oh, so like Barney for us.
Yes, except I think Barney had a slightly higher budget. Either way. So, what is tonight about? Tonight, at its core, is we're going to be basically starting at the beginning for hypnosis, and some people ask for things on scripting and inductions, so we're going to sort of work slowly through the first kind of 3 stages of our hypnotic model, and the best place to start with that is the best question you can start any class off with. What is hypnosis? To quote someone I really love, you put 4 hypnotists in a room, ask them a question, you'll come out with 7 answers and a dead hypnotist.
One.
Now, we have 2 main schools of hypnotic thought. These are state theory and non-state theory. At their core, state theory suggests that hypnosis and trance is a specific state of brain waves that you enter into and come out of. Non-state theory says that technically there is actually a state. It's just something we do. Suggestibility and suggestion is all around us, and we don't need a specific state to take those in. Now, what we're going to be doing today is I actually am a non-state theory kind of girl, for reasons, but at the same time, I teach state theory. The reason for this, quite simply, is because much like in BDSM, where we do a scene, we go into a series of play, we come out of a series of play. State theory, we go into a state of hypnosis, we then come out of a state of hypnosis and go on with our day. It fits over each other very nicely.
Especially when you go into a lot of the stuff that most of us here participating tend to do with hypnosis. Outside of therapeutic stuff, recreational.
Recreational or erotic hypnosis, because we are not psychologists, and we never will be, because we're not going to sit down and read the books. I'll thank all those poor mentally ill people who might end up one day with me as their therapist. Yeah, great.
But the books are actually really interesting.
It worked in comics.
That's awful. By the way, did you see the new Wonder Woman? It's really good. So yeah, I teach state theory, and we're going to be working from a state theory model. The thing about hypnosis and how we talk about it is there are hundreds of definitions. We're going to be using a working definition, very much like, I'm sure you all did this in high school chemistry, where you were told, oh, electrons go round the nucleus of an atom. Then you go to the next level, and you're told, that's not actually right. They're in shells. Again, the first definition isn't wrong per se, it's just an easier way of conceptualizing. So for our intensive purposes, we can say hypnosis is a state marked by increased suggestibility. Everyone with me so far?
You're going to have to ask the viewers that one.
I'm asking the viewers. This is a rhetorical question. This is like kids' TV, so if I say something, you all shout it back at me, okay?
Of course we're going to kids' TV.
I do say "et" wrong. Apparently it's more like "hey," but I just say it as "f." I haven't really got the Canadian down yet. I'm working on it. I'm slowly building there. I do a scene like once a week, and I'm good. One day, like a Canadian power ballad, I'm gonna just rise up and give a proper "eh." Not gonna happen tonight. Not gonna happen tonight. I the elusive Fanny. Wow, that's a 1920s film I don't want to see. I totally ruined that. Okay. Moving on before I start making awful vaudeville jokes.
You're going to do it anyway, so let's push that as far into this as we can.
I'm saving that one for later.
Mm-hmm.
How we can look at a basic hypnotic scene, applying our working model, is it goes thusly. We have our pre-talk, our induction, our suggestion, our wake-up, and our aftercare. Today, we're going to be focusing on pre-talk and induction stages, which, despite we say, like, oh, it's a 5-point model, those 2 points take up a good 80% of your model. They are probably the 2 most important things you're going to be dealing with during any normal scene. So, let's start really simply with pre-talk. What is the basis of a good pre-talk? I'm going to ask Sal. Like, what is the one concept we should be thinking of during pre-talk? It's a one word.
Consent.
Consent's a big one, and we're going to deal with that, but it's actually an underlying thing. Begins with an R.
Respect.
Respect is also a really good disco song.
I
There's only so many words
in the
to
song. That was a close one.
Okay, shit, no, don't get me singing. We'll get a content ID strike, and that won't be good.
That might be the public domain. Should I check?
It's not. It's disco. It's
It's
the
not.
70s. It's the 100 years, sweetie. I don't want you googling disco. That's when you put the white suit on and everything gets weird.
It's actually packed up, so you're safe.
Oh, hallelujah. There is a God, and his name is Stephen. The concept I'm looking for is rapport. Rapport is our core concept when we're doing a pre-talk. Now, what is rapport? It's basic, again, use it, yeah. It's connection between two people. And many people, but we're going to presume one-on-one for now because it's easier, again, for simplifying. It's the ability to reflect and have a conversation. You may see me and Jay probably have quite good rapport if we're going to try and break it down into numbers. Because, as you just saw, we can go back and forth on things really quickly, really easily. A lot of people sort of take great depths into what rapport is, but a basic way of looking at it is like this. It's like telling a joke. So if I was to tell this following joke, Samantha is going on a driving tour of Wales with her new boyfriend. He's going to show her Cardigan Bay in Cardiff before going on to Bangor in the back of his van. I can split the whole audience into three groups. There were those of you who didn't get the joke or didn't like it. I just lost rapport with all of you. Because, obviously, we didn't hit off there. There's a group of you who enjoyed it or found it funny. We've had a small increase in rapport, and then there's the third group. The dog I've just lost awful rapport with because he really hated that joke. He's like, oh God, no, I'm not a fan of puns. And the third group of those who know where I stole that joke from, we have a pretty big increase in rapport because, again, it's a known interest. One of the main mistakes you see new hypnotists making is they forget that rapport is not only built during hypnotic interaction. Rapport is built in every and all interactions. It affects how we see other people and how we interact with other people. Thus, if you want to build rapport, the best way you can do it is sit down and talk with someone. To literally shoot the shit at them. Or shoot the shit with them, by the way. That was a slightly weird turn of phrase for me there. Even, because we're talking about long distance and internet stuff, even how you present a blog you run will affect your rapport. Interestingly, I've had several, I would call them Uberdoms, the guys who don't break character for anything kind of guys, who regularly say, I have a subjects blog, or I have a submissives blog, because they see hallmarks of how I interact with other people, which to them suggests a certain kind of rapport. And they've always stuff like the background currently being pink, the sheer amount of bizarre cartoon GIFs I post on there, and the fact everything is usually in the form of a pun. So, even small things of how you work with someone affect your rapport. Now, there are ways of building rapport. There are 3 of them, and I wouldn't recommend 2 of them. One of them is basically copying of the person. It's called mirroring. And mirroring is, while useful, a slightly annoying tool because obviously if someone catches you mirroring them, their first response is going to be, you're being sarcastic. To actually mirror well takes a lot of effort, and it's something I've only seen mirroring done well twice, like in the wild, and both of those times it was edging to bad. The other one is called is basically reciprocation, which is doing shit for people so they feel obliged to help you back. So I could start, say, doing favors for Jay, and then using Jay's sort of want to repay me for those favors to get things out of him.
Not those kind of favors.
Look, Jay, I did that for you, and all you've got to do is bend over the table and bite down hard on this pencil.
2 weeks, right?
2 weeks. 2 weeks. I'll bring my own pencil and everything. Of course, again, you see the problem there. If someone catches the fact that you're sitting there doing shit purposely to get stuff out of them, they're not gonna like you.
Mhm.
This is why the one I suggest it's called commonality. At its core, it's making a friend, just as Barney taught us as a kid. Be nice, share. Share your toys, play with them. That is the best way you can build rapport with someone. Just spend time and talk with them. And keep in mind, from both angles, submissiveness and dominance both have their own rapport levels. So this isn't something that's a top-down thing. You should both be working to increase your rapport with each other by talking, by having nice interactions, by being honest. Something I see, this is especially good for people who are sort of on the submissive angle. I hear a lot of people talking about approaching. So how do I approach someone? And the best advice I can give is approach them as a person. Here's the thing. You want to find something they like and talk to them about it. So I can point out 2 messages I've had via Tumblr at various points, one of which made me want to talk to the person, one of which made me go, ugh, this fucking asshole. The one that made me say, oh, fucking asshole, was just a simple message like, will you tise me, please, ? Exclamation mark. It's like, why do I give a fuck?
Mhm.
Yeah. And I can see everyone, immediately this person you don't know has just lost rapport with all of you.
And it's also always misspelled.
It's always please. It's
TLZ,
funny,
every time.
You've never used a Grinder. I have a friend who uses Grinder, the phone app, and everyone on Grinder just sends you lookin, ULOOKIN ? To the point he has a conditioned hatred to the phrase now. So I will just randomly email him you lookin, and he will just blow up. He will scream at you. It's great. It's hilarious.
How often
It's like
you text him that?
only when he's being an arrogant asshole. Weekly. No.
There we
Very
go.
rarely now. The joke got boring. No, the one that actually made me want to talk to someone was basically it was saying, hey, I saw you were posting the Harley Quinn stuff. Did you see Arkham City? Because Arkham City had just come out. It's like, wow, immediately that person has engaged me, has obviously taken time to look at something and find something I like. He has approached me as a human, and he has phrased conversation in a way that sort of makes me want to talk back to him. That was rapport building. It's made me think, hey, this guy spent more than 20 minutes looking something up. He actually read stuff. I'm not human, but I pass as one perfectly easily. I have human passing privilege. It's very well known. Until, of course, I shed my true skin and then become one with the reptilians and fly into the moon. But you're not meant to know that yet. So yeah, that's how you build rapport.
And to tack on one of the things, for example, you said it happens before. Sometimes you even talk to somebody. I mean, you can see. I'm sure a couple people have at least seen my blog. A lot of the people that I get contact from, or that will send me messages, that'll hit me up. A lot of people that comfort to come forward and even talk to somebody is simply based on how you present yourself. So I've gotten messages constantly, not constantly, but every so often I'll get a message, hey, I saw how you talk about this. You actually respect people. And just showing things like that and being human immediately starts to build that rapport up with people, and it can help people come forward that might otherwise be terrified of, like Harley was saying, the uber doms, the people who don't know when to turn it off and converse with people on a normal level.
And it's something with rapport is sometimes rapport acts as a filter. There are those people you can work on building rapport with them, but you just don't have a rapport that fits. So actually coming forward and giving and presenting like that is great, because it means sometimes, yeah, sure, you're going to have someone you just can't connect with. That's fine. That's the way of humanity. That's the way of life. Be it background, be it social status, be it something, you just don't get on with them, and that's perfectly natural. And actually working on just building that rapport gives you a really good idea if it's going to work or if it doesn't. Sometimes you'll clash, but it's best to clash early and gently and realize, hey, we just don't get on, there's just nothing there, nothing common there, than to sort of be very generic to each other for like 2 months and then realize, Jesus, I hate this person. You wake up married to them and you realize, oh god, I hate everything about this person.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we're going to be doing during a pre-talk. We're going to be building and working on that rapport. The other thing we're going to be doing, which was mentioned, is gathering consent. Gathering consent. Now, I know that the fun thing to say is, oh, consent is sexy. Consent is not sexy. Consent is the mark of a fucking human being. Like, yeah. Consent is the mark of you not being a psychopath. Yeah.
If they're nice
Now,
comments, you can pop in, Kat.
Yeah, feel free to dive in. I mean,
I'm not the only one that's allowed to interrupt.
Everyone's allowed to interrupt. I'm just doing frame. This reason we're actually doing this time is because this means Jay can do content and I can do framework, which is I've just had more practice at doing class framework stuff.
Yeah, I'm not very good at the framework stuff.
I just am sarcastic.
Sarcasm is good. I like sarcasm.
Mm-hmm.
Again, rapport. We have sarcastic rapport. You can have rapport totally based on insulting each other.
Sure we do.
Your comment about the marriage thing reminds me. Mom was watching a thing on Dr. Phil. Conception, deception. Men were knocking their wives up while they slept, and it's like, no, I just wanted to play with it, and it's like, can I please kill you?
I mean,
Yeah,
I don't like men like that.
That's a crime, I think, in most states. Even in America,
Right.
I think that's a crime.
And
You
I
guys
was
have a weird legal system.
screaming at the TV, no, sir, you are not a husband, you are a rapist. Go check yourself into the nearest jail and find yourself a police officer to club you.
Yeah, thank you, Laura.
Thanks, John.
Yeah, and but see, brat is a type of rapport. I'm just gonna come in with Laura there. People have different rapport styles, and there are actually certain types of rapport people have. You may notice I was doing a rapport thing right at the beginning of this. When I started talking, what was one of the first things I said? I said, I've been doing this for X number of years, and I've been teaching classes for 4 of those years. I immediately set up a teacher-student rapport. I immediately put myself into a position of authority and use my experience as a proving card. So there are these very defined types. There's apparently people say there are 25. I would debate that highly. I think it's infinitely confusing. I don't think there's like a fixed number. But there are types of rapport. And it said some people can have a relationship where they continually insult each other. I have a few friends who people are convinced we hate each other when they first meet us because we don't say a nice word to each other at any point. Like the one friend I'm thinking of at the moment calls me bitch as a nickname, and people just presume like so you don't like each other. No, we're like really close. We just mock each other continually. It's what we do. So I'm going to quickly roll around and go on to consent. Consent, again, is the mark of a decent human being. Now, we're not going to go too much into consent gathering here, just because I think there's better resources out there than me lecturing you guys on it, and I actually don't think you're idiots. If you go on to FetLife, there are actually specific questionnaires for hypnosis, play, rapport, if you want to do something that is basically ticking boxes. I recommend that highly, really highly. One thing I want to talk about with hypnosis rapport especially, this is coming from me working with a lot of transgender or gender indefined people, is you should be asking for touch consent if you're going to be doing anything physical, and this means even phantom sensation play, you need to be asking for touch consent. I also professionally like to ask for body part names. This is really useful for a lot of subjects, just to say, you know, between your legs, what do you want that called? What do you want your chest area called? Do they have specific names to you? And that is just a really nice way of making sure there's nothing there. And again, you need to understand, if you're going to be playing with those areas, you both need to understand what the other person is talking about.
Yeah,
so just asking the name, gathering that consent, and during the rapport build, and during blah, 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 and my voice slips, I've been talking a lot today. During the consent, again, you're building rapport because you're showing that A, you are trustworthy, and you are also showing to people that you care about them and what you're going to do. The other things you'll be doing in your pre-talk, is that you, Jay?
Hmm?
I thought you were going to interrupt.
Oh, I was going to put something in as far as the consent, even little things, especially with hypnosis involved, comfort-wise, like something I'll do with people that I work with that I've never worked with before, is even with erotic hypnosis, it tends to occasionally or fairly often get that dom-sub dynamic, at least for the scene and that particular trance, is you know, even asking something like, is it okay if I say something like good girl, good boy, something like that, even making sure that every little thing you want to have that consent and that comfort, because you don't want somebody to respond to something because they think they're supposed to. You want to make sure that they're responding because that's what they want.
That's true. Making sure these little details are confirmed, are talked about, is all good. And you'd rather deal with it now than deal with it later.
And I have to step out for a second to go tuck the kid in. I'll be right back.
Okay. Have fun, Jay. And now see, look, Jay's gone for the father-daughter dynamic thing. He's trying to get pity from us all, softly and gently. No. Okay, so same reason someone can't consent when drunk. Literally quoting the law from Canada, someone cannot consent to something while they are in an altered state of being. Hypnosis is an altered state of being, however you want it, in the eyes of the law. So, yeah, no, they cannot consent. Technically,
I would also like to point out that is the exact same thing in America. Because the law doesn't like to point that out, but educate yourselves.
That's true. Basically, yeah, it's really simply it's an altered state. The only thing I would say about consent while someone is in trance is it's literally a ratchet. It only goes the one way and it goes down. If your subject is saying they don't want to do something and you haven't predetermined resistance play, then you stop doing it. You don't go for more consent. I mean, I'm also even wary about getting any more consent, like 10 minutes after, like when they're in aftercare, because that's a bad idea. The only thing, like, you may be able to work with implied consent, but that's only on someone long term. We all know the difference. We all know consent, consensual non-consent, and implied consent. Do you want me to quickly run through those for you guys? I'm just waiting in case anyone feeds back on me, because I know there's actually a slight delay on this, so... Okay, cool. So yeah, you can, if you do have a sort of a longer-term situation and what you're doing would fall in your implied consent, you could ask, and then you can ask, but it's much better to get it at the beginning, and then come back, and then at the end just maybe say, hey, next time, do you want to do this? I think the thing to bear in mind as well is a consent breach is basically going to destroy any rapport you have with anybody. So it's not even worth risking it. So what else you're going to be doing during pre-talk is you're going to be basically setting up a state. You're going to be defining the terms of what you're doing. And this is great. This is actually called priming. So the common way we say about it is we talk about what it was like to go into trance before. Now for a new subject, you might talk about, like, you know that time, you know when you read a book and you get really engrossed in it and the story becomes real to you? That's a hypnotic state. When you're watching a movie and you forget, like, the world around you and you become engrossed in the movie, or you drive somewhere and you forget how you got there, or when you walk, like, a route. They're all examples. Yeah, they're all autopilots. They're all, if you follow the state theory model, they are all hypnotic states. Those are great ways of setting up your thing. Of saying, hey, look, these are what we are. We do this naturally, normally, and all we're going to be doing here is inducing it on a specific time period, which is now. Especially what you should be doing is if they've mentioned having a particular like, is focusing it on that like. So if they mention reading a lot, you use the books. If they mention being like a runner or big into exercise, you talk about, hey, the walking. If they drive a lot, you mention the driving. You're setting up for what is going to happen and giving them mind a basic idea of what's going to happen. It's basically like if I threw you in a room with a puzzle and didn't tell you there was going to be a puzzle in that room. Petting is good. Pets are a good one there. Then you'd be like, what the hell's going on? What the hell's going on? What do I do? What do I do? But if before I went, hey, in that room is a puzzle and I want you to solve it, you would go in and you'd immediately go straight to the puzzle because, hey, there's a puzzle in here. I'm going to solve it. That's what we're doing. And that's what you're just doing to the subconscious. You're just telling it full on, hey, you know that state we go into? We're going to be doing that now. Be ready for it. Everybody likes puzzles. Gotta love a good puzzle. What you're also going to be doing is setting up your fail and win states. If I may steal from video gaming a second. Now, a big issue you see a lot of hypnotists making, especially when they're new or they're working with first-time subjects, is setting up hard fail and win states. So you'll say, in this session, we are going to do X. If X doesn't happen, you've brought both of your confidence down and you've ruined a bit of your rapport because what you did didn't work. You want to be setting fluid states for that. So for instance, what I tend to say is at its core is, we're going to be doing something, we're going to be playing around, doing something silly, and what we can do is we can do this, see what happens, we'll have a laugh, and at the end we can laugh at how stupid and dorky I sound doing this. Again, what is the win state there? The win state there is quite simply, we're going to have fun. There is no fixed idea for what that fun is. There is no heavy fail state there. We can come out and we can justify literally anything as, hey, we did what we intended to do. It wasn't maybe what I was planning fully, but they don't know that. As my mentor always said, I meant to do that is the most useful phrase a hypnotist has. I was totally intending for you to take that suggestion that way. I wasn't at all, but I totally was intending for you to do that. It's great, because again, there is no fail state. You have validated what they did as being right to increase your rapport for another session later on. So they go, hey, we did it and it worked. That was pretty cool. Rather than, oh, well, we were going to do X, but Y happened, so obviously I failed because X didn't happen. Setting up those states in this really fluid way is great, and it reduces pressure on the first-time subject. Like, I would honestly say, if you're ever working with a first-time subject, just literally go for fun. Is that we are going to have fun. Because then it takes the pressure off, because they're not going to be sat there going, oh God, am I doing this right? Oh God, am I doing this right? Oh God, am I doing this right? It's more, it becomes, well, I'm enjoying myself. That's good. You know, nothing is on fire. I'm not in pain. Ed, that's a fluid state. I mean, that inherently doesn't have a fixed. It has a fixed lose condition, but the fixed lose condition is them hating you. So if they hate you, then that's a lose state anyway. But you don't have to worry about that being the lose state because it's not like you're going to have to come back and deal with it later.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, if they hate you, I don't think you're going to be working with them again. You're going to be not around them anymore, so your long-term rapport there doesn't matter. So, what have we been so far in our pre-talk? Quite simply, we said we are building rapport, gaining consent, modeling and priming, and setting our fail and win states. Those are sort of your core parts. You have to account for. Oh, and apparently my microphone was muted for a second there, but
Wasn't me.
I blame you anyway. Yeah, no, it's totally fine to ask what they want. Totally, that's great. You're still going to be setting up a fail and a win state, though. So, like, let's say I was to ask, I don't have, Kat, do you mind if I borrow you a second?
Go for it.
I would usually use J for this because it's less loaded. But let's say I asked, Kat, what do you want? And she said, I want to think I'm a duck.
You didn't go with the obvious answer of cat.
I didn't want to because that would be really confusing because I'd be saying cat the cat and then cat. So I can now say cat and cat the duck. And I have a plan. I don't have a plan at all. I don't know what I'm doing. This is going out of control. No. Then we could say, well, Okay, cool. So you like that idea. So we'll work towards that idea and see what we'll do. There, you're asking what they want without your plan, and what you're doing is quite simply you're still making that wind state fluid. We're not saying that, okay, we're going to make you totally think you're a duck and you've always been a duck and you love bread and floating on rivers. What we're saying is we're gonna work towards the state, and again, it's fluid. Bread is awesome, especially if you're a duck, even though it's really bad for ducks because ducks eat cabbage naturally. There's my duck fact for the day. Sign up to my newsletter for 2 daily facts about ducks. No. And some subjects like that. I mean, as long as you're still gathering consent for it, that's fine. I mean, that's definitely a thing we can find with rapport, that some hypnotists like to be solutions focused. They like to say, you come to me, you tell me what you want, and we do what you want. Other people are a bit like me, who are a bit, I guess, stupid.
You stupid? No.
like to be like, I would still say if you're working with people, you should have like a little list or like a little pre-rehearsed, maybe 4 or 5 handful like innocent suggestions to work with for new subjects who don't know what they want and are just sort of kind of testing it out. Personally, those are always for me going to be arm lift, the hand lock, and basically stuck stuff. Because those are really 3 nice innocent suggestions that very few people are going to have any issue with, unless they have a fear of glue. But yeah, you can go in without a plan. It's nice to have a little backlist of things. Like, okay, if they don't know what they want, we can do these things. I mean, I don't fear possession. Ghosts like you a lot and want to give you a hug from the inside. God, I can't believe I said that.
Neither can I. Harley, you're muted.
No, I'm not.
You were.
Okay, apparently Google Hangouts really hates me today.
When does it not?
I don't know. It's because currently Google Hangouts plugin is taking up 30% of my computer's CPU.
See, Google Hangouts just hates me because I've tried to get friends to like ask questions and interact and be awesome like that, and I'm just like, I don't understand Google Hangouts. I'm sorry.
It's okay. We'll work it out together, slowly and gently. Something else you're going to be doing and working with new subjects during your pre-talk is myth busting. I know, as someone who's done this for a long time, it gets really boring answering the same 5 questions over and over and over. But getting rid of those little myths that people may hold is really useful for their continued rapport. It means they don't have to worry as much about saying, and it also gives you an idea of what they like. Like, if they come in from... If they're coming in... Oh, Jay's back. Oh, good.
What lies have you been telling them?
A lot.
Save me, Senpai!
I'm suddenly a duck.
Yes, Cat is now a duck because you weren't around. It is your fault. You are cursed for all eternity. Enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
Getting rid of those little myths are really important, and it also tells you sort of where they come in from. So if you have someone who's like, oh, I've only ever tried hypnosis to quit smoking, then you might want, and it didn't work. It was stupid, didn't work. Then you're not gonna want to be doing something very. Jay, give me a word for clinical that isn't medical aligned.
What do you mean? I don't even know the part we're on.
Currently, I'm on myth busting during pre-talk.
We'll do clinical, the therapeutic stuff.
What I'm trying to say, I'm going to give you this long one. If someone you ask like experience with hypnosis and they say, oh, I did stop smoking and it didn't work, then you don't want to go in with a very firm clinical induction. You want to play up being silly, being fun.
Right.
So you don't hit that old myth of, I tried this once, it didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking for a word that is clinical about being medical, because technically you don't want to be doing a clinical induction anyway, though I would say progressive muscle relaxation is very clinical in how you do it. Clinical with a small c.
Mm-hmm.
I want to clarify, I'm not actually a duck.
You're not a duck. Yet.
Yet.
Give me 20 minutes and a hammer, and you'll be amazed what I can do.
That is one thing. There's an easy way to tell a hypnotist. That's one of my favorite follow-ups, and people always expect it. They always tell you what they're not, and every hypnotist always follow up with "yet." Every one of us.
Yeah, it's like Joe. Like so, certain secret societies have a handshake. We have the ominous yet. It's like it's this thing. The union makes us do it.
Union?
Yeah,
Do I have to worry about joining that?
It's fine. You probably already are a member, just don't realize it.
You don't remember. It's okay. That's part of the joining feature. You don't remember.
You don't remember it, not because of hypnosis, just because the union meetings are so damn boring. You just forget they exist. You repress them heavily.
That doesn't surprise me. I repress most boring things.
Mm-hmm. See,
Actually,
there's a quote from Laura right there.
Fun fact: hypnotists in the USA are in the same union as helicopter pilots.
Are you serious?
Yeah, clinical hypnotherapists are in the same union as the helicopter pilots. I don't know why.
Also, it does vary from state to state too. Every state's got their own laws on it.
The
Dad, I'm gonna have Houdini flying my plane.
The NGH are like joint unionized with the helicopter pilots. I guess because they both like rotors. I don't know.
Spinny things. We all like spinny things.
That's entirely the reason. That or everyone just likes being high. I don't know. It's
exactly
it. This is why I should never read legal documents. They emailed me saying, "Yeah, we should probably fight for our legal rights." My first thing to come off of that was, "We're with the helicopter pilots." Do I have to get a ladder if I want to stand united with them?
So no, it's I love the I've tried it once and failed thing. You gotta find that other approach to it.
Which for some people is good. Which some people is easy. Which again, I tend to find that you find most people who do that have come from probably a light clinical setting, e.g. smoking cessation, maybe weight management. And from that, it's easier to go like the other route and to be just push up your. I'm not a doctor. We're not doing doctor things. We're doing stupid, fun, playful things.
Especially because a lot of people that have that. I tried it for stop smoking once. Had one session with a clinical hypnotherapist. When sometimes it can take months and months and things other than hypnosis to it, as far as behavior changes and stuff like that. It's not like a cure-all. So a lot of people go into it with those misconceptions. They go one time and all of a sudden they never have a craving to smoke again.
Yes, because hilariously, as we're finding out in our new research, that smoking is totally more of you got to deal with the physical craving more than the mental one. The physical one's the worst.
Physical dependence.
You're also going to get those who have come from working with other people, especially in sort of the Tumblr sphere of things. They've come from other people. They've worked with others, and maybe they had a good experience. Maybe they had a bad experience. Your job is to sort of work around that. Maybe said if they have myths, because sometimes hypnotists spread bullshit.
No, really.
I mean, it's what we do by our nature. This is why I'm pushing for us to unionize with the farmers, because then we both spread shit.
Mm-hmm.
See, the problem is I'm an ag major. So it would be perfect.
I deliberately made that joke for you. That's literally
Don't go
why
to
I
me
made it.
working in a lab, you asshole.
Could be spreading shit in the lab.
When you get your farm, is everything going to be planted in a spiral pattern?
No, that's how I'm gonna mow my fields.
So not only are you going to be an inefficient farmer,
I'm not going
wasting
to
the act. You're going to be the Starbucks barista of farming.
I am the Starbucks barista, you asshole.
I know! I remember these things. That's why I'm purposely tagging them.
You know what? You know what I have to say to that?
Thank you.
Rapport. Once again, rapport. Remember what people say.
And again, remember what people said. And hey, some people would take that badly. For me, I find that really amusing because I'm an asshole. I'm a horrible person.
That's why we get on so
That's
well.
all I've ever met.
I have a funny asshole. I know. My asshole is really funny. You should see its stand-up routine. It's great. It's got a good 10-minute set.
Mhm. The clown makeup really puts it all together.
It does. I mean, that, and they say it's the next Jerry Seinfeld. I'm not really sure.
Why am I
That's not
attracted
saying
to
much.
inappropriate jokes?
It's also going to star in a movie where it plays the bee. So, looping back round, actually, it's like a boomerang. You just like feel it. Is at its core, you're going to be wanting to bust those little myths. You're going to be maybe wanting to work out, maybe something that goes wrong. And one big question I always say ask during pre-talk is, anything you want me to know? Because that can bring up a whole list of things you didn't think about.
And then, not to cut back, but since I clearly missed some of the myths thing, I'm assuming you went over all the rest of the major myths? Like are you going to make me bark like a dog? Can you make me do things against my will? All that kind of...
Yeah.
And
you have to sort of balancing your answer to that to certain people. See, 'cause for one of those, I can give a really long 20-minute answer, which is like, do you want the long answer to this question or not? Because there's a long and a short answer.
just making sure where I missed, where I need to catch up to. So.
Yeah, those are you might get very bored because you're going to have to answer those a lot, but
No,
still, it's worth it. End results.
I probably should copy paste the intro because I give almost the same intro to everybody that comes to me the first time.
Wow, Jay, you're lazy.
Yeah. Is that anything new though?
That isn't anything new. I don't have a fixed intro because that means me sitting down and writing it. So it's
not fixed. It's just always the same general.
It's carved into 10 stone tablets. You failed.
I am way too lazy to carve it into stone.
And then after that, they have to take them to Salt Lake City. Mormon joke, go me.
Don't even get me started on that.
I don't have a I don't actually do that, if only because one, I'm dramatically lazy and don't actually hypnotize anybody half the time because I'm lazy. Like it's like I could hypnotize someone, or I could watch cartoons. I'm gonna watch cartoons.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, don't. I know there's a big thing, and you hear a lot of people talking about it. Is length of your pre-talk. Don't give a shit about it. If your pre-talk takes 2 hours and everybody seems to be enjoying it, then by all means, soldier on.
Mm-hmm.
If your pre-talk lasts a day, then soldier the fuck on, because that's fine. As long as everyone's still talking and they have questions and you have stuff to talk about, nothing wrong with that.
Especially for those...
Finish?
I was going to say, especially for those of us who do it online. I regularly will talk to somebody for 2, sometimes 3 days, just kind of shooting the shit and all that stuff to... sorry for Ed here. I'll oftentimes talk to somebody for 2 or 3 days, or schedule something for several days down the road and talk. Especially those of us online, because you don't have that personal connection. It's not that if you do something, I can stab you or call the cops kind of thing. So that's one of those.
I think you guys have call the cops second.
Yeah, I just zoned out for a second to tell someone something, and all I heard was call the cops.
I was telling them about a session and the kinky stuff. Anyway.
Call the police and tell them what fun we're having.
In any case, it's one of those, that's that pre-talk thing, is sometimes the pre-talk can be 2 or 3 days of building that rapport and talking and making sure everybody's comfortable.
Yeah, and with, I would say there is too short a pre-talk, but I would only say that too short only applies if you're working with a new subject. Obviously, if you're doing someone who's never been hypnotized, then you're going to want to at least spend 15 minutes on talking to them.
Well, there's Kay just posted right there when she first started talking. She seemed it would be a day, snap done in 10 minutes, and talk again. Yeah, if I read that right.
Yep, you did.
Okay, you
read that
thought
right.
it would simply be we'll do the trance and then talk again when it's time for the next trance. It's all good. I just want to make sure I understood it correctly.
It's okay. That's and
I
that's.
will for those of you who are watching. We do have Q&As turned on if you want to ask any questions too.
Yep, and I will
You
tackle
ask him,
those.
it'll pop up for me, and I'll ask him for the group.
And he'll tell me like a well-trained butler.
I'll tell you the ones that I want you to answer. Or
Oh,
just
good.
make shit up. I could make shit up.
You could, but here's the thing.
Make shit up. Do it.
I would probably seriously answer those anyway because I'm a nice person.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I've got all night, so.
Mouse in a trench coat.
Mice in a trench coat, dude. Never doubt them. Speaking biblical Latin.
God, please no.
People
But yeah,
in chats.
with experienced subjects, you can cut that down, especially if you're in a subject, or I'd call it a hypnosis-rich environment. So if you are at like a play party that is totally hypnosis aimed, then sure, you can have a much shorter pre-talk because you can have an idea that most people there have. Like they know their myths, they know the states, they don't need like it being prime. They know what's going on. Then yeah, you can totally have it down to like just 2-3 minutes for the consent gathering and then go on.
Yes, Kat?
Someone sent me something. I died a little.
Okay. Just a little?
Little bit.
As long as you don't die completely. Then we have to find somebody to fill your spot.
Yes, then we have
No
to
one
find
can be as sarcastic as I am. Not even Harley.
Then we have to tie wire to your arms and use you as a marionette, and then it gets
Back to
very
the
awkward.
Weekend at Bernie's.
I love that.
I have no idea how to work the Q&A. Don't ask me.
You can also just dive in on the generic chat, and I'll pick them up when I see them, because I can actually see that when it moves slowly.
I don't think anybody can do on the generic chat other than the participants on that thing. So.
Oh, okay. By state, coma. Yeah. If your subject enters a coma, then Jesus, call a doctor. Damn it. Damn it, Jim. I'm a doctor, not an escalator.
I think it's called like SLDL, but I'm not sure on the second one.
Okay, yeah, no, by states, I mean sort of like, again, the priming setting up of, hey, when you read a book and you get lost in the book kind of thing.
Oh,
They know that crap already. They don't need you to tell them that again. New subjects do. Old subjects don't. A fetish for comas?
I guarantee
Yes,
you.
there is. The pornography is very, very quiet.
I think it's called necrophilia.
Let's just get this over and done with for everybody. Anything can be a fetish. And please do not test us on that.
Anything can be a fetish, and chances are Jay has it.
Find the lie in that sentence.
There are no lies.
Is there one?
there are no. I've seen his Google searches. No. How much wood can a woodchuck chuck? And a woodchuck could chuck wood.
3
Actually,
liters.
technically, there is a fetish for kink shaming.
Mhm.
So there's a fetish for hating other fetishes.
Whatever floats
That
your
one
boat.
started on the internet, I guarantee you.
Technically, there's also the idea. Like, there's also the I can't remember what it's called. Come on, brain. There's
You don't
also
have one.
I do have one. It's in here somewhere. There is also a fetish for being given new fetishes. I know someone with that fetish, and it's really interesting.
I had something with that fetish come to me once, and yeah.
Hey, it's fine. They have a fetish for sneezing now, which totally isn't my fault.
I did a thing with sneezing off the tell you at some time.
Don't tell me about it. I don't want to know. It was sick, dirty, and made Jesus cry.
Every day.
Yeah, every day, Jesus wakes up and just weeps.
What the fuck?
Thinks of Jay and just starts bawling.
Oh dear. So, pre-talk. Are we all good for our pre-talk? Or does anyone have any questions while I take a breath a second?
Anybody in the group or anybody that's watching, which I know we're on a delay for watching, so it might pop up in a minute or so here.
Yeah, I'll move on and I'll come back round if we have any pre-talk questions. I'm going to dive into the next section because I kind of want to hit this big, heavy thing of inductions.
Mhm. So Ed, Kat, Kay, Lydia, Laura, anybody that's watching, if anybody has any questions.
Yeah, honestly, there's no such thing as a stupid question apart from the one that's left unasked.
Mm-hmm.
Or any that come from
I guarantee
Jay.
you any question you might want to ask. Typically, there's at least a few other people who have the same question, so You're not the only
Yeah,
one.
totally. I mean,
No.
I am presuming everyone here is an idiot, so I won't be surprised.
Just assume everybody's on the same level as you.
Yeah, pretty much. Also, it's the nature of being a good teacher. You've got to presume that that everyone knows nothing. It's the best.
Laura, we need to hear about your exploits.
Is that why you dressed up as a highwaywoman and tried to rob that stagecoach?
So Lydia knows to stay quiet around us.
Okay, we're gonna dive into the dramatically fun topic.
Moving the mic. Jeez, stop.
Dramatically fun and big
Sorry,
topic
guys.
of inductions. This is where things get either wonderful or horrific. Because inductions are the thing we don't talk about we talk about them quite a lot, but there is a hell of a lot of argument, and I know the one thing that stops most new hypnotists is that they get to the inductions part and they go, holy shit, why is there a 500-page book just on one type of induction? Holy crap. Holy crap. Literally, the Handbook of Hypnotic Induction is currently 5,000 pages, the one I have, and that's from a couple of years ago. However, we can split inductions up into some basic types. Now, these aren't really an official typing, this is just how we work with them. All inductions inherently are one of these types in a wrapper of some form. Those types are your relaxation induction, confusion induction, overload induction, kinesthetic induction, and then I have a special little gap which is called up inductions for something called up trances. Now, up trances we're not going to talk that much about today. They're their own little thing. It's not something you really need to know as a recreational hypnotist. It's not something I'd recommend doing long distance. So I'm actually going to put that in a box, and maybe if we get time later, we'll go back and I'll talk about that for a little bit. But just for now,
there's enough material on each of the induction types to run a class just on each. So
yeah, that's why I'm going to leave that out. Fractionation technically isn't a form of induction because it's actually a form of repeated induction.
Mm-hmm.
Technically, you can do fractionation with several induction types.
Sometimes it's fun to swap it around.
Sometimes it's fun to stay stuck in the mud for several years.
Mm-hmm. There's a fetish for that.
I don't want to see the pornography.
Oh God.
I
don't
don't.
want to either.
I'm now having flashbacks to being up a fucking Yosemite in a bloody thunderstorm. Thanks, Jay.
You're welcome.
I want to put the
I'll
puppy
touch you later on.
Yeah, how do I do that?
We're just going to quickly cover the basic types one by one. I'm not going to give you a full run-through of all of them because that would mean we'd be here all night, and I would fractionate the fuck out of myself, and then I'll just sit here rambling about whatever I ramble about. And just smiling, feeling good. See, technically, smiling is mimetic. This is actually a bizarre psych fact for you guys. Smiling is mimetic, so you're not actually happy because you smile. You don't actually smile because you're happy because you smile.
Mm-hmm.
So when people say, "Oh, just smile," they're actually logically right because that would actually make you feel happy.
Releases all the chemicals.
Yes. Well, not all of them.
Not all of them.
Some of them
the
stay
right
in,
ones.
but you don't just smile and suddenly chemicals pour out of your ears. That's goofy.
My first thought is you smile and all the chemicals start, and all I can think of is meth.
Suddenly Breaking Bad happens and just pours out your ears. Yes,
Hey,
totally.
my roommate did meth. That was a fun story.
Yeah, Laura, we just ignore that. It's gonna happen.
Oh dear. Yeah, it is. Smiling's interesting. I would technically count that as a weird thing.
So it would also depend on what
what you were doing.
What the yeah. You can't just say if you smile and you feel good and then you're out. That's not quite it.
That would only work on a handful of subjects.
If you use that as part of the induction, that's just more of adding to whatever your induction type is. Which, to be fair, it's a good thing to add into the induction those positive feelings when you're bringing somebody down warm, safe, happy, feeling positive, feeling good.
Mm-hmm. Though technically, you might want to avoid the common theory at the moment is to say do not mention feeling happy.
Did I miss that one?
Did you miss the memo? Yeah, you missed the memo. No,
That's new.
the big reason it's quite new. It's the same reason currently.
No, I mean Jay missing the memo.
Oh yeah, he misses
I
all.
miss a lot of memos.
The reason we say that is the same reason we actually say you shouldn't be saying relax or relaxed during inductions. Is that both of those words can be anxiety triggers for people? Because obviously you're saying a very generic term, a very generic wide term, which is going to cause questioning.
I can say that. I would say that's a lot of that's pre-talking.
Again, it's not a. Well. Yeah, it's not. Right. It's more of a therapeutic thing now. It's an interesting line of thought. Just the idea being that you should always say something that's actually more definable. So, like, instead of relaxed, limp is good because, hey, physical descriptor, I've already defined what that is to you.
Limp and loose, that kind of thing, yeah.
Yeah. For happy, you could positive is good because, hey, that's a very firm thing, unlike happy, which is this generic concept, which is going to make the subject go, am I doing that? Is that right?
The less often somebody thinks to themselves, am I doing it right, the better it's going to go.
Yes. Unless you're doing overload based on that.
But you got to go quick. You got to be quick with that one.
That is the Sonic induction. You've got to go fast. Okay.
Gotta go faster.
I went to Sonic as well.
Oh, good. I'm glad we all have been corrupted by the internet at this point.
Yeah.
That wasn't the internet. That's Saturday morning cartoons.
I don't know, Jay. I'm not that old.
I am.
I know you are. That's why I hear your hips creaking whenever you move. Okay. So, induction types. Relaxation. Relaxation is your really generic. You know the induction you think about? Feeling loose, feeling limp, taking deep breaths. That, ladies and gentlemen, is your relaxation. Its main form is the progressive muscle relaxation induction, the PMR. The PMR has one big advantage. It is the least confrontational of all the inductions. It is not domineering at all. It is really good for nervous people because inherently you are not pushing onto them. You are guiding and pushing. Disadvantages of the PMR. It takes forever. It takes, on average, 15 to 30 minutes, yes, and it is the most boring thing in the history of man.
It's pretty boring.
The main challenge you have when doing the PMR is making sure you don't fall asleep midway through.
I can attest to that. Is doing a hypnotherapy certification. They have you do that with a classmate, and I cannot tell you how many times I nearly fell asleep or put myself out just going through, because they make you read scripts. And
yeah. So my friend Ashley is also doing a hypnotherapy qualification. And because the induction is that boring, the examiner only makes you do a 5-minute thing, a 5-minute part of it, because they have to listen to 50 people do this induction over a day.
Mm-hmm.
And they get so bored they can't stand it. So they only do like 5 to 10 minutes. That's all they have to do, because the full 30-minute thing would make the examiner want to kill themselves.
So you gotta do, yeah. The few times that I do that with newer people, I typically will mix in suggestion with that to try to mix it up and spice it up a little bit.
That's a good way of doing it. The only time I'd ever really recommend, like 2 times I'd recommend doing a PMR in our situation is, one, when you're starting out. It's a really good induction that's really, really, really simple. There is very little back end to it.
It has a very high rate of success.
Actually, there's 3 reasons. The second one would be if you have a very anxious subject who doesn't like confrontation, who isn't BDSM DS inclined, then that's great. Or 3, you just want to do it as part of something relaxing. So maybe, like, say if you're doing like a date and you've got them in bed and you've got candles and everything, and the main focus is on sort of just relaxing, then yeah, it works. It's certainly not the most exciting thing in the world. Yeah, mm-hmm. The only way to fuck up the PMR would literally be to suddenly midway through declare yourself Napoleon and try and kick it. Like, I swear a monkey could do the PMR. Second type is our confusion induction. Now, confusion is a really fun induction. A rhino is not a type of induction, it's an animal. I checked.
Could be part of the confusion induction.
Declare yourself Napoleon. I actually did that once. Long story. Then the British...
This chat log right here could easily be a confusion induction.
Everything is a confusion.
Everything is an induction, period.
No, and to quote someone I really love, life is a confusion induction. Confusion is basically when the mind is confused, when a person is confused, they are going to want to try and resolve the confusion. And they often do that by taking the easiest way out of a situation. If you are confused and lost, you are going to do the first thing that pops into your head that's easy. Now, if you're overloading someone with stuff, and then you give them a drop command, the brain's going to be, holy shit, I know how to do that, I know how to do that, that I can do. Because anything is better than staying confused. Because we are taught to not stay in a state of confusion for too long.
Like
because... Fun?
I was saying, like instant inductions.
Yeah. Here's
The
the
brain
thing.
says, what the hell is going on? Fuck it, I'm just going to reset real quick.
Yeah, I'm going to do something. Because in history, the person who stayed in the state of confusion and didn't do the first thing they thought of was the one who got eaten by the lion.
Rawr.
And thus didn't go on to fuck your great-great-great-great-great-great times 2 to the 26 grandmother. So thus, yeah, one of the big keys for confusion inductions is finding a chain of basically finding an logic chain. So you want to find something that doesn't make sense but still appeals to the person. You want them to be involved. For instance, you could start talking utter crap about mathematics. If you have a subject who hates math, they're not going to be bothered to get locked in to be confused. They're just going to go, whatever, dude, and leave you alone. So you want to find something they like so you can catch them in that link. Yeah. So with Laura, there's no point doing. Yeah. If you're not going to fight you're not going to come in to be confused if you just don't like it. You're just going to go, whatever, and think about anything else. Like, I don't know, fish. So it's finding something the person likes. Again, that's something you could really find out during pre-talk, is maybe find an interest of theirs and then slowly really annoy them about it by quoting all the issues with it. For instance, very recently I literally did an induction based on a confusion induction based on the move Shield of Justice from Persona, talking about, does justice get trapped in the shield or does justice get pushed out of the shield? Thus, in the shield, is there justice or injustice or a void where there's no justice, and does that mean there's a justice in blue? Again, if you don't give a shit about Persona lore, which none of you do.
Going back to the beginning, everybody's lost rapport.
Yep, because no one knows the fuck about Persona, just me. And no one gives a particular care about that move, because it's a fucking shield. No one respects me. No one respect my waifu.
Oh,
I'm editing that out. That's being edited out of the broadcast version, by the way.
this again.
Yeah, but yeah, you want to find something they like, they're willing to be confused by, and then wait till you get that moment, that micro expression of, and then you throw in your drop command, and you should have a decent induction. This is really good for analytical subjects, because what you're doing is you're turning their need to analyze against themselves. It is basically, if you've seen the SCKD comic about nerd sniping, that's literally what this is.
Mm-hmm.
You are giving them something they want to resolve and making sure they can't. It's related to the next induction, the overload. The overload is very similar to confusion, except you're just going to throw so much data at someone. The brain just has a little... Overloads are great fun, and I recommend them for subjects who like the feel of hypnosis, because it does have a very big hit moment of, holy shit, I don't know what I'm doing anymore.
They do take a lot of work.
They do, because the issue is you've got to be able to parse and work with that data. You're firing at them yourself,
Mm-hmm.
so you've got to be a couple of steps ahead. the best example of how this overloading works is there's a very famous experiment where they basically made people watch a basketball game and count how many times the ball was passed during the game. Midway through the game, a man in a bear suit walks across the court very slowly, stopping to wave at the camera. Very few people spotted the bear because trying to keep track of where the balls were going and how many passes there were had kept them so occupied they just couldn't see anything else.
Mhm. And there's a ton of different ways to do that overload and stuff like that. Like I'm not very good at traditional overload stuff. The 7 plus or minus 2, it doesn't work with my style. But like I do a lot of erotic stuff with people, and a lot of times if you get somebody who's excited about that, you can take that aspect of them and them getting excited and more excited and things like that, and you can push that into the overload as well.
Yeah, you can do overload. Like the last time I did an overload induction, I basically did an overload.
Yes,
I'm paying too much attention to notice there's a frog on someone's head. I mean, it's technically a form of overload.
it's the overload.
Well done. But yeah, you can do an overload based on anything. 7 plus or minus 2 is the famous one. This is because the brain can only handle 7 plus or minus 2 things at once. Slight issue with this is some people can cheat.
Mhm.
I cheat.
You cheat most of the time.
I do. But you tend to find if you're an ass like me who has learned to counter inductions, you can get that number up much higher than 9. But the best way to do 7 plus or minus 2 is you pick something for them to focus on, and then you tell them about it, then you pick something else and that. But remember the 12 days of Christmas. We all know that rhyme. On the first day of Christmas, my true love said to me. That's what you do. So you'll do like the 6th thing in the list, then go down all the old ones again. Then do the next one, then go down all of them again. Now and again, dropping in to ask them to remember certain ones or remember certain parts of the list.
Mhm.
And again, you're looking for that micro-expression, that moment of, and then you throw in your drop command. Congratulations, you have a pretty decent, you've just basically overloaded someone to the point of hypnotic trance. Go you. Again, great for analytical subjects, because you're giving them all of this stuff to analyze. Our other form of induction, which is probably not going to cover that much again, is kinesthetic. This is touch. The most basic touch induction you can do is dancing. Is partner dancing, of rocking softly, and if you stop after a while, you'll see the person will keep swaying because they've normalized their body movement to yours. If you were to suddenly change the body movement, you have a moment of shock where you can use, or you can choose continued rhythm. Shoot, I heard Jay's about to say something.
I say, as far as you'll see, a lot of the kinesthetic is in a lot of susceptibility tests that people will do, like the sway slightly back and forth, and when I tap you on the shoulder or on the head, you're going to fall forward. Things like that that's that kinesthetic. Is a lot of susceptibility tests that people will do, especially stage hypnotists will do, kind of fall within that range.
That's why I know.
And it's also the most showy if you're on a stage.
That's why I know so damn many of them.
Mm-hmm.
The thing I'm going to give you for kinesthetic, just quick. Please, when doing kinesthetic, have a spotter nearby, because some people ragdoll. They will not stand up, okay? And if you cannot catch that person, you are screwed. If you're someone like me, I am 110 pounds, I am a fucking weakling, I have no muscle. If I do that and someone falls, I can't catch them solo. They are going to fall down on me, and best case scenario, I get damaged. Worst case scenario, they headbutt the floor.
And it's always good to have, because you can never tell, no matter what you do with a subject, every single subject is different. You end up with somebody who has done great and has done other things, and you hit that drop command, and it turns out they go catatonic in a trance, and then you just kind of have a lump of person on the floor that you weren't prepared to have.
So yeah, you want spotters. In theory, you would want them sitting down. I'm not a big fan of standing kinesthetic inductions, just because it's asking for someone to go flying. I mean, maybe they like that, but I'm not a big fan of taking people to the hospital. So
Not your kink.
no, I'm all down for medical
Jeez.
play, but they have to be wheeled. They have to be wheeled to me for medical play.
Yeah. Oop.
So the last one, I'm just gonna put. Oh, pardon.
Oh, I was Kay had a thing. The physical. How do you know that somebody's not faking it? Do you want to? Let's finish what you're doing, and then we'll go to the physical markers of trance and certain things to look for.
Okay, we can do that. The other one, last one I'm going to do literally is the up induction. I said about this. This is a special thing called up trance. You know how we talk about relaxation, how going down? And going down, becoming drowsy and sleepy and groggy. There's another one. It's called up trance. It's actually called a flow state. It is going up and becoming more focused and more energetic. It is not something I would recommend. I would recommend playing with long distance, because what you're basically doing is making someone horrifically hyperactive. A lot of people will crash hard after them. They, however, exist. They can't be fun if done safely. My main thing on that is you will be giving horrific aftercare to that person for a good period after. You need to be making sure they're going to get water and food, because they're going to have blood sugar crash. And just be very careful. You're dealing with a person who is taking in 400 things at once.
It's a high.
It's
somebody
a
coming
high.
down off of a literal high.
Just be aware that's a thing that exists and you can play with it. It's not something I would ever recommend for a first-time subject. It's not something I'd recommend for a moderate subject. I would only say that's something you should be doing if you're really used to brain fuckery stuff. Because I know several people who've done it and found it very scary.
And I've done it for 15 years, and I've never. Yeah, I won't even touch it.
Yeah.
Not because I don't. I mean, just yeah. It's for me. It's not worth that, because it's not my kind of thing and it's not my style.
Also,
It's a pretty like narrow focused area, but it does exist.
Yeah, it's also because for a lot of people, when they think of the erotic hypnosis stuff they want to do, being more awake and more focused isn't really down with the narrative.
Exactly.
The narrative is that's not how it worked in Super Friends. I made the 80s reference. Go me. I'm the best. No, I made that just for Jay. I researched old cartoons old people like.
I appreciate it.
Y'all
I feel
are
like I'm part of the
old.
group.
It's fine. I've got a Mr. Magoo joke lined up later on just for you.
Awesome. Thank you. Loved watching that.
So it exists. Like anything, it's good to know it exists. There are actually a couple of special inductions that I sort of don't count in those groups. Quickly run through them. There's eye fixation. That is your old swinging object chestnut. If you want to be the king of the stereotypes, you can do one. Just know that doing so makes you a dork. That is basically your PMR. Inherently, it's your PMR. Just timing your PMR with the physical convincer. In this case, if someone starts looking up for a long period of time, you can even try it yourself. Their eyes are going to start to hurt, and then naturally the muscle's going to want to close, because the muscle in the eyelid is very, very weak. Because we don't
It's a little
regularly
bit
work
straining, and looking up like that is kind of a natural sleep position for the eyes anyway, so you're kind of getting the body to work with what you want done.
Yeah, it's a physical convincer.
Basically, you use anything you can to make their body do the trance for you.
Yes. It also has an advantage with experienced subjects because it's priming. They just expect it to work because it's so cliche. You split it into two groups. You're gonna get the ones who it will hit like a fucking truck because it's so in with their narrative and fits so perfectly, and they're gonna get the people who are gonna look at you and laugh and go, "Oh my God, you're a dork."
And yes, Laura, I am a dork, and that's okay.
Yeah, Jay is the dorkiest of the dorks.
He's the
The other
king of
one-
the dorks, obviously. I'm the queen
Yeah.
of the cute. He's the king of the dorks.
The other one is the My Friend John induction. This is another therapeutic one that some people still use. It's fun to play with. It's actually an induction designed to work for children. Though please don't hypnotize children, and if you don't tell anyone I told you that.
And for highly anxious, it can also work with anxious people.
Again, it's not confrontational.
Yeah.
You talk about, basically, you do an induction, but you talk about someone else experiencing trance feelings. And usually it's my friend John. You know, how he goes for a walk and feels calm in the sun and feels his breaths becoming longer. And because how imagination works and how we experience stories, we tend to mirror those feelings very highly. It's great. You can also do it a bit more involved for our kind of thing. It's quite fun. I think his breath's becoming longer. Oh, it's his breath.
See, you English folk, your accents are so bad you can't even understand each other.
His breath getting longer would mean that would actually mean he could immediately see a doctor. Then we fall into the. Actually, I'm going to skip one and go to the Ellman induction. This is. Do we all know who Dave Ellman was? Dave Ellman was a man who did some hypnosis and is now very famous, and we all quote him and worship at the ground he walks on.
No idea who you're talking about.
Don't worry, no one really cares. It's Dave Ellman.
Nobody cares anymore.
He was
if
the
you
big
go to any FetLife group, you will see him quoted everywhere.
You will see him quoted everywhere by people who have no idea who he was. Like all famous hypnotherapists, he was a creepy old white guy.
Big shock.
He was actually the less creepy of the creepy old white guys. Actually, he's the one I like because he's the least creepy. He wanted to make a never fail induction. The Ellman induction is his never fail induction. Note, I am saying never fail in air quotes because it fails a lot. The Ellman induction basically means that you set an expectation, you add inevitability, and then you fractionate the fuck out of them until they do what you want. Very common phrasing these days, and to quote another hypnotist, because I like quoting hypnotists, every induction in the world is just a Dave Ellman induction with a hat on. I wouldn't agree with them, however I'm a sucker for a good hat metaphor.
And it doesn't hurt to put things in simplistic terms when you're first beginning.
Yeah,
it's a lot easier to narrow it to that point and then let people kind of go into the depths and spread things out as they go on.
I would say, actually, if you are starting out as a hypnotist and you are looking for a good basic script, an Ellman script is probably one of your best go-tos. Even though its never fail status is utter bollocks. Like, it will fail sometimes, inherently.
But it's effective in and of itself.
It works. It's not going to explode, but it isn't the Holy Grail. The other ones are your pattern interrupts or your instant inductions. It's a slash. They're instant inductions. I'm going to be honest, 90% of instant inductions you see are not instant, nor are they inductions. 90% of instant inductions you read about are marketing tools to make you buy an overpriced book by a creepy Russian man who has no idea what he's doing.
Or David Blaine.
Or Dan Brown, who I want to punch so hard in the dick it explodes.
Yeah, nobody mentioned Dan Brown.
Don't. That is my berserk button.
That is Harley's. I forgot.
So would you hate it if I told you I actually read all of the Da Vinci Code books and loved them?
No, that's Dan Brown.
Oh.
Brown.
I'm not a fan of Dan Brown either. Dan Brown is... Dan Brown, I have mild distaste for Dan Brown and utter hatred for Darren Brown.
I misheard you. I'm sorry.
If you ship Dan and Darren Brown, I hate you more than any human has ever lived.
Dan or Darren?
I died.
Good.
Yeah, see, Dan is okay. Darren is the one that we don't talk about.
And it doesn't matter, because you can't ship them anyway, because
Darren Brown's like the female Robin. We just don't talk about him.
Yes. I can get into more details on Overlord. I'll just finish this a little bit off, and I'll come back to you. A lot of instant inductions inherently are. There we go, Darren. I'm sorry, I speak with a real country voice.
I'm sorry you speak wrongly.
Now, Harley, not even Laura understood you, so...
Oh God, that was bad. I'll endeavour to be less British, Mary Poppins. Pip, pip, dallio, go for a cup of tea. A lot of instant inductions are more based on rapport and priming. So when you see those really cool YouTube videos of the really quick inductions, what you can basically guarantee is 9 times out of 10, they've cut off the 15 minutes beforehand where they were doing a long priming pre-talk.
Mm-hmm.
Ed, what the fuck are you doing?
Come on, Ed, focus. Focus.
Pattern interrupts inherently are the form of that, and that is basically taking a known pattern. The common one is the handshake, and doing something totally different, and then dropping your drop command for that moment where the brain goes, "Holy fuck, what's going on? What's going on?"
Then the induction part. Or
Yep. Now
that's after that. That's the where you see people immediately kick into the suggestions and the so on. To interrupt, to interrupt, or if you're going to keep going there.
it's okay. I wanted to bring up the 2 safety things you should be doing during pattern interrupts very clearly. 1, if you're doing the handshake induction, you are trying to give them a shock. You are not trying to win the UFC Submissions Championship. Do not put them in a fucking armbar.
And do not get punched, Ed.
Yes, that's actually a big thing that people forget. Okay, so one of the big pattern interrupts is people go, "Oh, what you do is you go for the handshake, then you push into their face." To most people, you randomly and unexpectedly pushing your hand towards their face is going to be read as a threat. They are very naturally going to try and grab you and neutralize that threat. This is why you've got to work on building rapport before doing these inductions, because if not, that person isn't going to think, "Oh, this is an induction trick," or "What's going on?" They're going to think, "This person is going to attack me. I need to do something about this."
And that
Welcome to a kick in the testicles.
The priming instant inductions. I mean, you'll see a lot with stage shows, to go back to the stage shows, but you're also talking about somebody who's come on stage and has that priming, has that rapport of, "Oh, I'm here to see this person as a hypnotist." Oh, they're going to give you that spiel, they're going to do performing stuff beforehand, and that's where you see a lot of those instant inductions, or somebody who's already put on a show, and everybody's already in that mindset. You have that pure pressure of, "Oh, this is going to work," and it does.
You can do you can do fighting as an induction. No, just if you're going to do that, make sure you win. You can do stuff based on resistance. And
a TKO is not technically putting them into a trance.
Isn't it really? Well, I just realized I'm totally unqualified to teach this class then. I apologize. I thought kill count was your mark of a good hypnotist. You can hit people with the giant hammer. I've done that. I blame comic books. Society is to blame. But yeah, those instant inductions work on rapport, because obviously on a stage show, you're going to most people are going to presume this person they paid $10 to see isn't going to randomly punch them in the face.
Or if it's somebody that is, hopefully they've researched who they're going to see.
Yes, and they've Googled, does Great Mesmero punch people in the face?
Or if Randa Couture suddenly goes into stage hypnosis, you can kind of have a general idea what you're going to see in the shows.
Blood. Horrible blood.
They're very specialized.
Very specialized blood, but horrible nonetheless. Okay. But yeah, that's the one I see. I see a lot of sort of the people who think they're being fancy try those. A horrible story. I was at a dungeon party. This is a couple of years back, and I saw a guy who was trying to do this handshake induction. He did it with her arm was sideways, going out onto a diagonal. He pulled her arm. This was a girl in heels. She was smaller than me. She went flying. Literally, he pulled so hard he tossed her across the floor.
That woke her up.
It woke her up, and it was a bit of a rapport breaker because after that he tried to go back to work with, because he had two subjects, tried to work with the other one, and you saw the other one's back right the fuck off. She's like, no! Can I have your arm? No! Like, yeah, don't try that after you've just cocked it up once. Okay, so cycling back around, we had a question on overload. To go into more detail on the overload, it's quite hard, because overload's quite wide. But basically, you can do it with any form of massive amounts of data. So 7 plus 2 7 plus or minus 2 is the basic one, because you can do it with body feeling. You can even do it with just details. Just having people focus in on all of the details that are around them. The one I recently saw and was talking about was one literally based on the idea of looking at your desk and then seeing all of the different bits on your desk and all the things that you remember, like, oh god, I should have done that. I need to move that. Oh god, one day I should dust that. And like the more you. Mm-hmm.
Oh, just as a random thing, you actually probably could, Ed. Especially the 12 Days of Christmas thing.
Ed, I'm on summer vacation. I don't need pie. Unless it's chocolate or cherry.
But I love pie.
You can do integers, and you can do all sorts of overload. With integers like math, you might find it will verge into confusion. See, when you draw out there's actually a Venn diagram, which, if there was a Venn diagram, I mean, there'll be a big crossover between confusion and overload. They work very similar. So if you're not sure, both can apply in both situations. Because confusion is inherently overwhelming. This is why when we get confused, we get tired. Because we start focusing on everything to work out how to resolve the confusion again. So yeah, you can use confusion overload. You can have people remember a lot of stuff. You can have people try and do a lot of stuff. You can... Heck, a really good overload induction at its core. That works, trying to keep track of that. Literally anything. As I said, the thing we can always go back to with all of this is anything can be an induction. You can take literally anything in the world and make it into an induction. A really fun thing, if you're ever really bored as a group, this is a fun game. I know one of the hypnosis schools calls it Iron Chef Hypnotist. I call it I was drunk, bored, and I have a group of hypnotist friends, and we're idiots. It's basically you go around, you each give like the person next to you a topic, and they have to make an induction based on the topic. And basically, this gets interesting when you start betting on it, because you could start trying to screw each other over by giving each other the weirdest topics known to man. This is why I once wrote an induction about a slightly ecstatic milkman.
Oh dear.
And this is also, Jay, this is also the game that spawned the induction I'm not going to talk about, but Jay knows about.
You've mentioned it, now you have to.
I'm not going to mention it because it's not appropriate for public conversation.
Harley's going to get all blushy and I'm going to be cute, but that's, yeah.
Then I try to speak from the Muppets, I just come and go, meep. Munchkin is basically a running confusion induction. It never makes sense, whatever you're doing. This is why, if you're playing Munchkin, you always hypnotize all the other players so you can cheat. There is no rule against it in the book.
Munchkin encourages cheating, in fact.
Yes, that's why it's totally legal.
I don't know what Munchkin is.
It is a card.
There's so much you need to learn.
Shut up!
You don't know who Bruce Campbell is. Harley, did you say that Kat does not know who Bruce Campbell is?
I found out who he was. I looked up his IMDb or whatever the hell it is.
Bruce Campbell is it's very simple. Bruce Campbell is the man who invented soup.
Well, see, the trick here is that nobody needs to know that you're cheating because they don't remember that you cheated.
Yes. This is also why paranoia is.
Nobody remembers.
But yeah, anything can be an induction, and you can work with anything. Basically, those things we talked about are skills, and you can practice because it's a lot like painting. We have names of brush strokes, and we have that. But with those brushstrokes, you can make a picture of anything. With the same series of brushstrokes, can become a picture of a cat or a picture of the Hindenburg. I don't know why I went to the Hindenburg.
Yeah, I heard Hindenburg, and I'm like, somebody needs to stop Harley at this point. Let's go back around since we did all that back to Kay asked, kind of a one-off, but we can definitely go into more detail on that. As far as quit chatting, people, I need to go up. Anyway, the question was how do you tell somebody's not just going along as opposed to actually having an effect? Because if somebody tells her to relax, she'll just kind of go limp or whatever. And
Okay,
that's what she's supposed to do.
that's an interesting one. See, I think me and you may disagree on this slightly.
Do tell.
Because I don't actually think it's that big a deal. If you like, I know a lot of people put a big stock into checking they're actually in trance, and I think that's this delightful paranoid behavior that is more born out of ego for hypnotists. If you're getting a result, it doesn't matter how that result is getting through. You're getting a result.
Mm-hmm.
This probably comes from my background in stage hypnosis. That was my background, and that's what we worked out. It's like, okay, maybe that one person isn't like as under as everyone else is, and they're just going along with us.
That peer pressure is going to encourage them to perform in any case, as long as it puts on a show.
Yeah, that doesn't bother us. At the end of the day, they're doing the stupid shit we wanted them to do. Mm-hmm. We've hit the success flag, which is they're doing stupid shit. We're all good.
Mm-hmm. I do that a lot. I kind of am in a similar thing with people that I work with. Is, well, either this person's really having an effect, or they're enjoying playing along, and they've got something that they can think about and enjoy later. So there are certain physical markers you can look for if you really want to look for them, depending on what kind of thing you're doing, as far as slowing breathing, dilating pupils, stuff like that. But since everybody trance is different, not everybody's going to have the same responses either.
And that's the thing. That's why knowing your subject is great. Different subjects do different things inherently, and that's why, like, I think focusing on those, are they actually under? All it does is it gives you an extra thing to look for. I mean, technically, I don't think no one's ever seen this from me, but I trail off. So I can trail off, and then when I come back up, I will continue finishing whatever I was talking about when I went under.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's
to most people,
you never stop talking.
I never stop talking, never.
It does happen. I've seen it.
I don't believe it.
I've seen the Yeti. I have seen it.
Yeah, you've seen a lot of things, but we don't talk about those. Look, I was young, I needed the money, and I didn't know my clothes had fallen off.
Heard that story before.
Suddenly, my clothes fell off.
I mean, on the subject of trancing differently and certain things like that, again, not having to worry if somebody goes under or not. For example, I've worked with, in the chat here, both Laura and Lydia, and both of them are completely different as far as what happens. And so it's less about how good a result you're getting, and you're getting a result, you're having fun, you're having that interaction, you're having that exchange and back and forth, and as long as everybody ends having a good time, that's really the important part.
And what I've seen, and I've seen this a lot with hypnotists who are big on the physical, like checking for those signs, is what all you're doing, especially if you're like looking for them, making a big point of trying to see them, is that anxiety, that sort of I've forgotten what the word I was looking for is.
That pressure to perform.
That pettiness, in some ways, he's going to just pass on to the subject, and they're going to sit there thinking, "Oh, am I doing this right? Oh God!" And then like you've got them trying to think, "Am I doing this better? Am I doing this wrong?" And that's just going to end in this awful loop where they're trying to do better and failing because they can't control that kind of stuff, and that you're just going to get more mad, which is going to pass that anxiety back onto them, and then you end up just looping around and around for eternity.
Yeah. Which is an induction, anyway.
Yeah, the spinning, the never-ending spinning.
Why not? So, do we have any other questions, or is there anything else that we wanted to go over?
Well, I still have more to talk about.
Oh, you always have more to talk about.
I know, that's what makes me so great.
Is that what the word we're using now?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, no, I mean, here's I said that anxiety is a big breaker for subjects, and honestly, a lot of the people who go on about, oh, I need to make sure it's real, don't have a single idea what they're talking about. It's
What's that
structural.
one? K?
Hmm?
The phrasing for K's. The anxiety you're not doing right as a sub? I know you're
I'm taking it. It's easy. Like, I always presume that the subject is doing well. Don't presume that they're doing like. Don't sit there going, oh, there are the. Well, the guidebook says that their breathing should be 4.78 breaths per minute, and it's 4.92. Well, obviously they're a fake, and we should have them shot.
And as a hypnotist, don't be afraid to fail. I mean, nobody's got a 100% success rate. Nobody's always going to have a 100% success rate.
Yeah, and that's why.
Don't be afraid to say, man, I didn't work this time, or sometimes it's even just I don't have. My style doesn't work with this particular person, and that's okay.
And as I said, when you're pre-talk, you are setting up these very fluid win states, win and fail states. The idea being that you don't set it up as we are going to do this or we're not going to do this. You set it up very clearly as we're going to have fun, because then you can do it. So it never hurts to say I intended that to happen. I've seen stage hypnotists do this. It's great. One of their inductions won't work on someone who is obviously a good subject. So what they'll do is they'll just stop the induction and laugh and go, oh, yeah, okay, you didn't fall for that joke. People always fall for that. Okay, let me actually do the real induction now.
A lot of it's the presence and how quick you can readjust.
I've done it myself. Sometimes something isn't working, you just turn it around. It's like, that isn't working, and that's good that isn't working, because that isn't working because it's proved to us that isn't going to work. I wanted to just make sure that you weren't going to fall for that, because you're cleverer than that. Boom, immediately we turn the negative into a positive. I meant to do that is always your greatest friend.
Confidence, confidence. That is as silly as this might sound. It's one of the reasons why I always let people come to me. Is you get that, you already have that immediate. This is somebody coming to you on it as somebody that wants it. It puts you on that position already where you have that. I don't want to say advantage because that just sounds predatory. But I think that comes through. But having that confidence.
Sounding predatory would be like I prefer to hide in their bushes until their weak moment, then dive out and steal the food from their bins.
You know the sentiment I'm getting at there, though, having.
I do, yeah. It sounds creepy.
It does. Especially the beard, everything. It's always creepy.
Hence why I made the bins joke, just because it took it off you a tiny bit there.
Thanks.
But yeah, being confident is great. Just don't do what a lot of new hypnotists do and confuse confidence for being a douchebag.
Unless that's your style in your induction.
The douchebag induction, yeah, where it's just like, I'll stop being a douche the second you go under, yeah.
I've met people that would be very effective with.
That actually works. There's actually a very famous story. I think it's Erickson. I'll need to look it back up. But he basically had a very frigid man in his office come to therapy, and this was the 50s, so very repressed. He grabs the man's wife's boob. Grabs it and says, I'll let go when she goes under. This is before ethics became a thing in therapy.
Wait. Did I miss that memo? Ethics are a thing now?
Yeah, we introduced them. Ethics and Casual Fridays.
I bet that one. That's why I don't have pants.
Yes. Also that whole thing about having to sacrifice a child to the blood god now. I think we're appealing that, though.
Oh, I hope so. I voted against that.
I voted for it just because the children were being annoying. But yeah, don't. So he grabbed it. It's like, yeah, I'll let go when you go under. Don't try that at home. These days, women are these days, these people are the police. But that's actually an induction you can do if you're big on like threat or fear play. You can do if you go under, I won't do X, which you dislike.
Mm-hmm.
Again, make sure you have consent for that, and have a subject who will understand that X they don't like is a threat, not a promise.
Mm-hmm.
If not, you're again.
Yeah.
Oh, the joys. The joys, the joys, the joys. What I was going to go on to, apart from my little ramble around a historical lore there, because gotta love some lore, is people talking about sort of long distance and scripting.
Mm-hmm.
How we approach scripting. Now, I actually have a bit of an interesting background in this because I've actually known and worked around a couple of sex workers who do this kind of thing. That's their job. They get paid to be sexy, I presume. I don't know. I just watch Doctor Who with them. That doesn't really count.
Totally counts.
It's very hard to be sexy when you're sat in an oversized t-shirt watching fucking TV shows from before you were born and talking about, I don't know, whatever the fuck we talk about. Either way, most thing you gotta work on when working on these things is distance has a major effect on how you work. Most files and scripts and pro services, fetish pro services, I meant to say, work on the 60-40 rule. Translation. You want to get 60% of your audience under. Of that 40%, we can say that 10% went under really quickly and came back up because they were bored. Another 10% just wouldn't go under to that type of induction. 10% and the other 20% needed a longer induction. Now your options there are kind of assy because if you make a change to account for the 40%, you risk reducing your other group down more. So there, we'll make a longer induction. Well, now more people are going to wake up because they're bored. We'll make a shorter induction. Crap, even less people are going to go under. Oh, we'll change the induction type. Well, then that new induction type may not work for the other 60% who were going under before. This is why, when you do these, most people resort to scattershotting. You throw a little bit of every induction you've got at them at a high speed. At literally high speed, until something sticks, and you hope it sticks. The issue you have with long distance is inherently you don't control the pace, especially with scripts. It's reading speed. That makes certain things, like overload, very hard. Because it's very hard to overload me when I'm reading.
And that's one of the, we can even circle back, just why not revisit different things, is back to the pre-talk and stuff like that, or people who have had issues with it before, is the static inductions have a limited range of effect because they can't be modified, they can't change on the fly, all that stuff. It all links together.
It all links. It's like I wrote this down and planned it somehow.
Maybe.
It's like I suddenly became literate for one moment, and in that moment I wrote down this.
I don't believe it.
I don't either. Don't worry, I'm planning on having my pen canonized. Yeah, those inductions are fixed, they can't change, so they're going to have a lower rate of success by their nature, and they're going to have a lower rate of external factors. See, now, while you do like a live induction, there's going to be that element of peer pressure and that immediate want of validation. Because you want to make the other person happy. It's like, yay, we've done a thing. We're going to do a thing because that's cool and we're going to have fun. And it's going to be, you're going to smile and we're going to be really happy. Of course, on a script, that doesn't really matter. It's like, I don't have a social obligation here. I might decide halfway through I'm just going to close it and go look at pornography or whatever else on the internet these days.
There's stuff other than porn on the internet?
I've heard there was pictures of cats.
Oh, okay.
And gifs from animes, which, I wouldn't know about.
I'm obviously cat, so
Okay.
y'all fucked up.
You're a duck.
There's a cat. There's a cat. Yeah.
We've already established you're a duck. Continuity.
I am
Oh,
not
God.
a duck, and I'm not going to be a duck.
I feel like we're getting into Dr. Seuss range here.
Yes, we are. Oh, Dr. Zeus.
Just because I share a birthday with him doesn't mean I want to talk Dr. Seuss.
Really? Well, there goes my plans for your birthday. We were going to go to the Dr. Zeus Museum, and it was going to be so much fun.
Oh, you'll make it up to me.
I won't. I'll just go on my own. I'll take someone cute.
Me?
Nah. I'll go on my own.
Just bring a mirror.
I'll go twice.
This is all I've got for you, sweetie.
Oh, okay. You froze. So I had this very offhand smile. But yeah.
No, this right here.
You have, of course, remembering in advance, you have to remember you have less chances to make rapport during use of a script. This is why you realize most sort of pro-doms... Oh, it's okay. We're gonna be. I think this is being recorded, so this will all be edited down, so you'll get to not have to deal with my bits that make no sense.
Yeah,
We're
about 7 minutes away from devolving your chaos, so
Yeah.
we'll make the most of the last few.
This is why you realize that most pro-doms have especially the hypnosis ones, have a very big persona, and by that I mean a role they play, not a magical being that lives inside them unless it's super attacks.
I was going to show you mine.
I don't want to see you. Jay, do you put a gun to your head and shout, Persona!
Did you not see that?
I didn't see. I couldn't see. I wasn't looking.
Okay, here, we'll do this one then, on the other side.
You
said that and I immediately put my fingers up.
I know. What you realize, I'm slowly conditioning you.
Oh no, I loved those series before we met, so.
Slowly conditioning you.
Fine, I'll give you. Will that make you happy?
Yes! This is the best day ever. I'm easily pleased.
You've had some shitty days.
I'm easily pleased. That's what you realize they most have these very big personas because they have less chances to get rapport over. They've got to get them what they are over very, very quickly. So you'll note they mostly have like 3 bullet points that describe their personality. So like, slightly weird new age chick, stupid hair, likes Germany. Again.
Is there
Pardon?
What are we getting at here?
The idea being, if you're working with distance, especially with scripts and stuff, you have less chance to your rapport is going to change because obviously you don't have as much chance to sort of ingratiate yourself to the subject.
Right.
That's why pro-doms have characters, and those characters are very, very simple. So you only have to get what they are, you only have to look at them for 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Like most of these, I say girls, I know that's bad of me. There are guys as well. I just say girls because I know them more. They have a personality that can be written down in 3 bullet points. Because they have to sell what they're offering you and build their rapport within that very short time period. Unfortunately, if you're working with scripts, you have to do the same thing. You have to get yourself over to that audience very quickly. Now, looking at our model we were talking about, what do you realize we don't have because of scripts? We don't have the chance for pre-talk. The best we can have is a preamble. Now, you should be doing consent gathering still, and the best way of doing that is basically a fucking warning list. It's not as good as a proper consent gathering, but in that environment, it's all you got.
But especially when you're doing presentation-wise, you do have at least, you get the start of consent with the fact that people are there, they understand what could happen, and then so you at least have that as a build-up as well. It's definitely a different feel, different environment to it.
And you have to deal with the fact that you're not in control of the pace anymore. You also have to genericify everything because inherently you don't know the subject at all. You don't really know enough about them to do anything special. Like here's the thing, as me and Jay were just doing, Jay knows when I say persona, I'm going to at some point make the persona joke. Now I could make that joke in a script, and that script would now immediately have no effect on the 60% of the population who have never bothered to play that series of video games.
You would think 40% of people would get the joke.
Yeah. And then you hope the rest laugh along like the sheep they are.
Nope.
So you want to keep your script... Well done.
Good job, Laura.
Laura has a point. You get a whole point. I don't know what the point means, but you have it. Congratulations. This is.
Just if she remembers she has a point at the end of this.
Oh God, no. Then she'll become pointless, and then we're all screwed.
Harley, you're the only one here who's pointless.
I know. I forgot to sharpen myself this morning.
You should have had somebody help you with that this afternoon.
The look on your face, Har. Jeez.
I like the style of screen. I love getting that look out of you.
So you can't control your pace of your induction. So that causes certain issues of things like confusion and overload, because obviously if someone gets too confused and overloaded, if you're talking, you can keep pushing them on. You can keep giving them data. In text, they can go back and go, wait, what was that? Oh, you're asking if the moon would hit the main star? Yeah, no, it would, totally. I just went back up and got a calculator. So you have to account for, you don't have that pace. You have to account that that person is not going to be as rapport built around you. And inherently, it's just practice. It's about working it out and learning what works. Certain types of rapport become much harder within that thing. Like, unfortunately, you find most scripts have a heavier dom-sub leaning to them, because that is much easier to write for.
Mm-hmm. And it's a lot easier.
Keep going.
It's also a lot easier to have that lean, especially if it's an erotic or if it's a recreational script. Is a lot of times you're already going to have that implied dynamic when it comes to the erotic side of things.
Yeah, and it's really easy. It's easy dynamic to write with distance, because inherently it basically presumes the other person has very little self-control. Not self-control. My words went a second. But it presumes the other person is going to follow you out of a debt, as opposed to trying to do my whole pally stupid bounciness doesn't really work in like sort of text distance, because it sounds a bit weird if I don't have someone to reply to. It's like doing call and response in an empty room. It doesn't sound right. And of course...
Oh, well.
Marco's Silence. That's the name of an up-and-coming goth singer, Marco's Silence.
Somebody copyright that quick.
Do it now! And thus, a great rock and roll career was born.
I feel like we can turn that into Toad the Wet Sprocket.
Appealing to the youth of today.
No, you are.
I feel like it's time for a reboot of Eric Idle's whole Toad the Wet Sprocket joke.
A wet sprocket?
Toad the Wet Sprocket. Red herring reformed into dead herring. You have
all okay. Sorry, I thought you just said I have a wet sprocket. I'm like,
oh,
wow.
No. This is the Marcus Downs thing. Great rock and roll career launch to remind me of the Monty Python band name sketch. In any case, see, failing at rapport.
Failing at rapport. But again, if you fail at rapport in this kind of situation, you saw what Jay did there. He had a do-over, e.g. explaining the joke. In text, you don't have a do-over.
Mm-hmm. In text, you say it and you got to move on to the next thing, because by the time you type out explaining the joke, the other person could have moved on, or they could type a response. And
if you're doing it via a script, then yeah, you're screwed. You can't do over it. If they don't get the joke, you're fucked.
Mm-hmm.
This is also why in those kind of things you need to define your suggestions very carefully. For the same reason, because you can't look and go, "Oh my God, you took that in a way I totally did not see coming." You've totally undermined everything I'd planned.
Did you have a follow-up to that?
Me?
Yeah.
Nope, that's basically most of my thing.
Okay, so did we have any other questions then, or?
Is Harley finally done talking?
No.
She's just catching her breath.
No, I haven't done talking yet, but now I'm talking to the voices in my head for a little bit. We're having a conversation.
Okay, tell them hi for me, okay?
Well, yeah, I know, but we
Don't
can't.
encourage that.
Yeah, I mean, look, I told you, right? We can't call them that because then they'll get offended, okay? No, but I told you. Yes, I know they're full of blood, but we can't get it out of them yet. We have to
You
wait.
can't even get to me!
I might be rethinking my plans in 2 weeks. Oh, there we go. I will be telling people.
I don't know why I became Dio then for a second.
Because why not? Let's see. What do you do when you're reading and you have a suggestion or want it to only affect them the first time? Phrasing.
Phrasing. Yes, I have mentioned this in a conversation. I had a friend who had an awfully badly defined suggestion at one point, which was when she received a text message, she would orgasm. Unfortunately, she had an iPhone, and on iPhones, if you don't get rid, open up the text, it stays on your lock screen.
And it reminds you a couple times.
Yep, what followed was literally her going, open phone, drop phone, come. Open phone, drop phone, come. Open phone, drop phone, come. It took her literally having to get another phone and call me, because she couldn't call the person who gave it to her at the time, to say, please come and delete this fucking text.
So it's a good suggestion. I know, Harley, you've broken it down on your blog and posted that. Has that time frame as part of the suggestion itself. You have your effect, you have your response, you have your time. I forget exactly how you broke it down. It was pretty elegantly done.
The way I always say about breaking sessions down is by need, by time, by space. So by need is if something else comes up you need to deal with, if something more important is happening, or if you just can't do it at this time, then this will not go off. By time is everything should have a time limit. So I tend to use interaction time. So it's like, basically, this will wear off within 30 minutes of non-use related to it, or we end the trigger, whichever comes first in the situation. That
and
just
you can
means...
also...
No, key guy.
Well, you can also go certain things, like a simple way to even clean up that trigger that you were mentioning is the first time you see this, it affects you. The first time. Suggestions and triggers in particular need very specific wording because the brain is very literal. The brain just sort of takes in what you're telling it, and you need to tell it this is what you're going to do verbatim from front to back.
And some subjects like me are horrifically literal. So yeah, we will take things. I will take things, not we. I will take things horrifically literally. The other one I would say is doing it by space. Doing it by space. So if you leave a certain area, this will stop happening. That is really good because the last thing you want is them wandering off.
Mm-hmm. So what does that add? So I'm assuming in a text situation, if they're reading the script and they're going under by reading the script, or if you're reading the script to them.
Okay. So they're reading the script. It's just text, and they're just reviewing, and they go under, and they just tell you what they think of it, and then you ask them to read it again, and they go under. But would the suggestion work there? Like, because you said the first time you read it.
I would say that's a slightly interesting one because that is a suggestion that has no backlink to a state change. Because in that case, they're not going to be encountering that often. That's not saying you'll react to X with Y. That's saying you'll finish this and do X. Mm-hmm. That is making sure it's written out as a one-time action. Means you don't have to say the first time you see it. Just once you've done this, you will do. Doing this, you'll do this, then up and back to normal as we're totally clean. There is no you're not saying that whenever you encounter. The main problem with that, one me and Jay were talking about then was things where when you it's mostly a problem with triggers, especially or
Lydia
suggestions that
is a
have.
good example of that. Lydia has been known in the past to go back in our text conversations to reread triggers because she wanted to.
That's adorable.
Because she's a cheater.
And this is where I get to tell my I thought that woke her up. You just summoned her. Great. In her home in Relay, Dark Linda lay dreaming, and now you've woken her up. Great. We're all doomed. This is presumably where I get to tell my dealing with the literalness is actually a lot easier than you think. Just be very clear that that's a one-time action. This is usually why I end up telling my really bad Harley Quinn story.
Oh, was that you're not that one?
The one I've told you this.
It was like the first story you told me about running off.
Yeah. So I take personality play like a truck. So if you tell me I'm someone else, I lose all memory of being who I originally was. And someone thought it was a really good idea to make me into Harley Quinn, the DC Comics character. So I came up. My first thought was, who is she telling me what to do? She isn't Ivy. So I tackle her from behind, tie her down, and start basically taking hostages, going like, "Fuck this, no!" Like you don't take. My head went to immediately. Wait, I'm here. I don't know where I am, and I'm not in my costume. The bitch fucking drugged me and took me here and stripped me in front of an audience. Fuck that! So I got really assy, and so I was like demanding my hammer back and stuff. Like I was getting really pissed off. There was also a time someone did it with the Japanese Miko maid thing. My brain was like, yeah, a cat girl wouldn't go to school. That means a cat girl wouldn't learn English. Phew. In my low-end broken Japanese, screaming at this guy, screaming at him, you shouldn't touch me. That about paying me over and over again. And he was trying to work out what the fuck was going on. I didn't understand a word of it. But what followed was basically us just having the most language barrier conversation ever. I think I literally only came off because I literally stormed off into another room. Because we at least had the space safety in place. So, because I got bored and I stormed off for a bowl of milk. Because cat. So I stormed off and I was like, wait, what the fuck? Oh, I can speak English again. That's good. Oh, good,
This is a downgrade.
Oh, good. I'm suddenly not obsessed with cleaning things. Hallelujah. Holy shit! I don't have one of them. I don't have one of the most booming economies in the world. So yeah, literal subjects are fun if you deal with them right. If not, welcome to hell. Yeah, you can do that. You can do that, or if this is more going into personality play a tiny bit, you can always just call an author saving throw and have the character already know, change what the character knows. If they're playing a fiction, you can play with that. So like you can totally do that with, hey, turns out when you're acting as this character, they totally know English, and if you want to justify that, you can say, hey, yeah, they learned in high school, they did English classes, so they're really good with English, as good as they are with their native language.
So, and certain little things, if it's somebody you're going to work with a lot and you know that they're going to be like that, you can always work in like a catch-all safe word kind of trigger too. Like I'll do with people, especially if there's going to be some sort of like physical, like you're not going to be able to move or talk or certain things like that, is putting in a catch-all. I use the word release sometimes, but like a catch-all, you can say it immediately flushes any suggestion, any triggers, anything out of the system.
Lovely choice of words there, Jay. You immediately void yourself upon top of.
So, but again, something like that, especially if like if somebody sits down to work with Harley, they're like, oh, I need to make sure that if something goes wrong, that no matter what happens, this word or this thing will help us reset.
The ribbon pencil thing is really quite cool. It's actually a fun, really good safety. No one's ever used it. It basically is you give them a pencil or a ribbon to hold, and you basically communicate the idea that should you be in distress or should you need an issue, if that ribbon or pencil falls out of your hand to the floor, that is basically your safety undone.
something like that can work too, Ed. Or I've had people I've worked. No.
Okay.
It sounded like you had a comment on it.
I do have a comment, but I'll do it after you've done yours.
Oh, I was going to say I've had people that I've worked with over the years. One thing that I saw that was kind of unique is for somebody who, because some subjects like to work with a variety of hypnotists. So having somebody who can put in something like having to give an active consent for new triggers or suggestions, things like that, something that prevents things from just being stuffed in somebody's head. Not every subject is like Laura, where she can say no regardless because she's a brat.
Yay!
So Harley had a comment though.
Yeah, that's also a really good one for pain or stuff involving muting, because it's obviously a very. It also means if the body shocks, it's not gonna hold on to an object long enough, so it's gonna like great. It's a nice little one. I'm sure. Yeah, you can always do that. Always make sure you don't undermine your own suggestions, especially when you're doing sort of fixed thing. Being a brat is hilarious. Why else? Why would you not want to be a brat? Especially if it annoys Jay. I'm all down for this.
Yeah.
The higher his blood pressure gets, the happier I am.
Thanks, Harley. Love you too.
I love you so much.
No, you don't.
One day we will run off to Paris together and open a bakery that serves only cats.
I want to open a bakery.
Wait, will it serve only cats, or will it serve only cats?
It'll serve only cats.
Only cats can come in. We don't want.
Okay.
We don't want.
You
people.
kind of have to ambiguous, and you have to specify.
No, we don't want people in our cafe. They'll mess the place up.
That's true. People do suck.
I'm just curious.
And think
honestly,
about it. In these recession-based times, people have less disposable income, but tax changes don't affect cats.
Cats don't have income.
They
You clearly
might.
haven't met the cats I have.
They might have income. I mean,
Haven't you ever heard of cat tax? I mean,
we've got one in here that's going to be a farmer when it grows up.
honestly, when you said only serves cats, I just imagined just a huge loaf of bread that's just cat-shaped. Just a giant cat bread.
Jay, do me a favor. Help me flip Harley off.
why?
I'm out of middle fingers.
It's
I mean-
okay.
You have your toes still.
I'm not. No, I'm sorry, Harley. You're not that worth that much.
Oh, I'm offended now.
We're so hurt.
I know, I'm
It's
so hurt
sympathetic.
inside. My spirit is dying. Don't worry about it. Welcome to life. This is existence. This is reality as we know it. Stuff happens.
Is it though?
Yeah, no, it is. I can tell you that. I know about reality and not reality.
Laura, thank you. You're such a good example. You're confused. So what we do?
No. Here's the thing. She's a duck when it amuses me, and a cat when it amuses me, and a farmer always. That's just like a given.
I'm not a fucking farmer.
Not yet. That's because you're still in school for it.
Yeah.
I'm not in school. No, I'm not in school for agricultural sciences. I'm in for food science. There is a mother effing difference.
Can I ask? Is there a unit you have to do where you have to like learn like farmer phrases like "ooh are" and stuff like that?
No, that kind of comes with the internships, but that's not a thing.
You get to learn to drive a tractor.
Yes. Well,
I know how
is
to drive a tractor, you jackass.
Wow, you're a natural. See, you were born to be a farmer.
My mom's still pushing me to become a pharmacist.
It's got
You could
farm
be a
in it.
farmer.
I mean,
You could be a farmer. You could be a pharmacist. You could go to people. You'd go to farms and give the animals pills.
That would be animal science. Yet another different science, but still an agricultural science.
It's all basically farming.
yeah,
It is not farming, you mother effer.
it all came from there.
It is. Sociology,
I love it.
psychology, English,
Farm.
they're all basically farming.
Everything comes from how can we make more food?
How
How can we
how do
increase
make more-
consumption?
How do we
The
make more
American,
food?
that's how you increase
That's the
consumption.
American way of life. How can we increase consumption?
By making more
I told you, I'm
farms.
gonna make Soylent Green, but not of people.
Now you're gonna live on a little farm with a single cow. You'll call it Dixie. Then you'll fall in love with that cow, and it'll become sort of like your wife.
Or that is
No,
a terrible
thank you.
idea.
I'm also making a reference I don't think anyone is going to get, so don't worry about it.
No.
Good.
I'm pansexual, not farm sexual.
Yet.
There's a suggestion box, right?
Oh, yes, Jay. What are you going to put it in? The Madoka box? As you're now calling it? Which is a box made out of little girls, apparently.
I don't know. I'm old. I can't follow this shit.
Yes, you are. Jay, so cartoons are these things where we draw pictures and we make them move.
The last
They're
time
not
I regularly watched anime, Excel Saga had just come to the States.
Oh, God, you're so old.
I do love Excel Saga, though.
Of course you do. You're easily pleased.
So?
You're
I think
easily
half
pleased.
the participants are asleep now.
I know.
Okay,
This is the best
Laura
body
should
count I've
be
ever
asleep.
had.
Huh?
We should do
be
it.
asleep.
What about Cap?
Think we can put the whole chat out?
I could start talking about something
I'd like
really,
to
really
see you
boring.
try.
Oh,
Between
God,
the two of
man.
us, we could put the whole thing out.
Now you've challenged his ego. Now he's going to start going on. Then I'll fall asleep just because it's the sweet release of death. I think I timed this just about right.
As far as...
As far as covering everything quite quickly.
Oh, yeah. I think this is a pretty good one. We had some people watch. And the cool thing is if this goes up on YouTube, that's kind of a fun thing that we can link to. We can have a really post, hey, you can review our little lesson thing, and we can schedule another thing. And of course, now that we're almost at the end, we have 6 viewers. Hi, viewers.
You're right,
6
guys.
years, you came late.
You okay, Laura? You're so chatty. The silence while we wait for her to type.
Silence.
It's deafening. Did we lose Kat? I don't understand what
I
happened.
think we did.
I think it's almost 3 a.m. for her.
I'm here.
Yeah.
I have to do something really quick. And no, it's actually only 2:20.
Oh, close enough.
It's
close.
not.
It is closer to 3 a.m. for you than it is to midnight.
Yeah, it is.
So, were there any other questions, though? Or?
Why are
No,
you
I'm
such a
serious.
poopy face?
Because his mother didn't love him enough as a child.
Too much, actually. Overprotective. No, we don't have any questions in the Q&A thing. I mean, anybody watching, we have the Q&A spot. And Laura just keeps typing.
Typing and 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 typing.
You trying to make an induction there, Laura?
It's okay. I'm just saying random words at this point. Yeah, that went quite well.
I think it did. Everybody cooperated. Everybody got along. I think we
Yeah.
covered a good chunk of. I think we covered a really good chunk of information.
Yeah, we did. That's
Hopefully, is relatable enough for people who are new to it all, to be able to utilize for themselves. And I mean, we can kind of go over for anybody who hasn't seen my chug, it's Hypno Junkie on Tumblr, stuff like that, so people can contact us or send messages like they are wont to do in the first place. Does anybody else have anything to add? You okay, Lydia?
Jay is a poopy face, and I'm glad that I didn't bring out the drawing board.
drooling.
She's from the East
Yeah.
Coast. They talk funny out there.
Oh, fuck you.
There's no L in drawing.
Yes, and I also say water.
That is not pronounced as water.
Yeehaw, ride them cowboys.
And I also say, pass me that John over there.
What?
What?
John.
John? What's a John?
Yeah.
A toilet?
Is that a person?
Pass me that
No.
toilet there, young man.
I'm very confused.
I require it for my
Example.
constitutionals.
That frog. That's a John. That muffin's a John. That's a John. A John is a thing.
So
Wait.
you just name everything John. Doesn't that get confusing?
Wait, so are you saying that you
Like, what happens when you get on the farm and everything's named John? Like,
No, wait. Are we sure she doesn't mean like John in the prostitute sense, as in she's sexually propositioning every object in her house?
it's a possibility. DC's a weird area. Those East Coast Americans are weird.
Shut up.
America.
We are not. Y'all are the weird ones.
Well, yeah,
Why,
I'm 90
I'm
minutes out
all-
from San Francisco. We're all crazy. So, I think then, before we all just sit and add like 20 minutes of silence onto the end of this broadcast.
That's how we end this. We all ended just
Yeah.
staring
I
straight
thought
at the
that's how
camera for
it
20
ends.
minutes of pure silence.
It's your moment of zen.
No, we just start like doing like some weird viral marketing with it, just by just ending it with just suddenly static.
Oh, if only we could add that effect onto the end of it.
Oh, now I'm tempted.
We'll end up with a very highly doctored version of this video on YouTube in a couple of weeks once Harley actually does something with it.
Oh, it's like those
Partly
hostage.
doing something impossible.
I mean, I do some things
Eventually.
now and again. I went to the toilet today.
Laura, did you find condoms?
Magnum's a kind of chocolate.
Yeah, that's
Joking.
type of ice cream,
Yeah?
Jay. Not everything is about your dick.
He doesn't have one.
He does, but it's fictional.
Oh, it's a popsicle stick. Okay.
Pops.
It looked like it was reflective the way you had it held up before. That's why I was so confused.
So that's a good note for all the for all the vagina owners in the room. Jay gets popsicle sticks and condoms confused.
Lydia is unmuted now.
Hi. In theory, I could also be.
See, and now everybody should be unmuted. Everybody can talk at the very end when we're about to finish everything up. Good job, everybody.
Go us. Go
You do
team.
realise that there was like 4.
For what?
Hours?
Yeah, we were going for 4 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is funny because that's like twice as long as I normally go for.
Well,
Actually,
then,
it
yeah. No, well,
looks like 3.
Really? I heard you only lasted 15 minutes max.
I know. Then the crying starts, and
well, good deal then. So we covered a pretty good chunk of stuff. We can always go on specific stuff. So if anybody who's watching, or anybody, should you watch this video, if it ends up going on YouTube, something like that after the fact, who's watching this as a post-recorded thing, feel free to send in any suggestions or throw anything out. This is definitely going to be a regular thing if we can all get to do. We've got a pretty good group here. Most of us have a pretty good chunk of experience. I mean, between everybody on the call, we've got at least 25 years worth of experience cumulative from different aspects and different areas, which lends to a pretty helpful little group.
Well, I have 2. Jay has a century, so...
I thought they had 15.
15 off and on.
15 millennia.
Yeah, exactly.
So between Jay and Harley, you have 23.
Yeah, 23.
Well, mine's not 15 continuous. I mean, mine's been off and on.
Yeah, let's put it this way: Jay's experience isn't legal yet.
So, but we've all got, and all of us come from different backgrounds, which I think makes it a really nice difference as far as communication and different ideas and things like that. So hopefully it was educational, if not really, really, really long for everybody watching. Thank you for anybody who's watched through this entire thing, and thank you for if the 4 viewers we have left have been the same viewers this whole time, thank you for that.
If you survived this long, you deserve. We'll have a whip round and get you counseling.
There we go.
We're very sorry.
So thank you very much to everybody. Thank you to you guys for hopping on, asking questions, and chatting with us. Thank you for everybody for watching. And I will post something either in the events for anybody who's watching it and who hopped on. Do you have our contact information? At least for me, I've been getting emails from people joining in and stuff like that throughout the whole thing. So I will be posting more information the next time we get something scheduled, and I'll throw it up on my blog, things like that. I will also throw the link up to this, should it be posted, post-recording, all that stuff. I think that covers pretty much everything. Yeah?
Yeah.
Ready? So thank you very much, everybody. Have a good night, guys.
Good night.